All right, call to order. All matters noticed on this agenda in any category may be considered for action as listed. Any item not so noticed may not be considered. Items listed on this agenda may be considered in any order at the discretion of the chairperson. Mission of the OC Fair and Event Center is celebration of Orange County's communities, interests, agriculture, and heritage. And with that, I'd like to ask Michelle Richards to lead us into the Pledge of Allegiance.
Put your right hand over your heart and let's say it like we mean it. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
All right. Matters of public comment. Speakers are requested to sign in prior to the start of the meeting and are limited to 3 minutes. Public comment is allowed on issues not on the current agenda. However, no debate by the board shall be permitted on such public comments, and no action will be taken on such public comment items at this time, as law requires formal public notice prior to any action on a docket item. Comments will be accepted on agenda items during the meeting. Speakers wishing to address the board on items on the agenda are requested to sign in prior to the start of the meeting and identify the agenda items on which you desire to address the board. Speakers are limited to 3 minutes. And
So
with
do we need to take roll?
Oh, yeah,
We do need to take roll call. I'm
Whoops.
sorry.
roll call.
Committee Chair Pham.
Here.
Please also note for the record, in attendance is Director Bonaris.
Okay. Now we can vote
Make
comment.
sure here.
Yeah. Sorry, it's my first time. So, Adam West, you can come up and speak.
How you guys doing? The clock's a tough thing sometimes. Good evening, my name is Adam West. I'm gonna go through this pretty quick because I wanna make sure I get everything. I wanna thank the Orange County Fair for giving me the opportunity to speak today. I am the owner of Allstate 38 Inc. We are one of the largest family-owned midway game providers in North America. The biggest issues facing California fairs today is how to create more and new revenues while conserving their high standards and moral values. We at Allstate know how to maximize revenue from midway game operations. We've been part of more major county and state fairs than any other game provider out there. In the 2 fairs closest to here, we have shown great success. At the San Diego County Fair, we generated a per foot rental income of over $800, while the majority holder of games, RCS, produced just under $400 per foot. This means Allstate paid the 22nd DAA over $36,000, while RCS paid under $18,000 for the same size game on average. At the Ventura County Fair, Allstate consistently had 6 of its 8 games in the top 10, the #1 producer of revenue. My wife, Debron, a graduate of UC Irvine, is a key part of our success. She has had more #1 games at the State Fair of Texas over the last 10 years than any other operator. These statistics show our multi-generational abilities to increase revenue for any fair. At the San Diego County Fair, they have decided to bid out their entire game operation, separate from carnival rides. I quote from Mike Cigarelli, their contracts manager, "It is commonplace in California that many of the county fairs contract out all of their midway rides, games, and ticketing to a single contractor. The only difference in this RFP is we have removed the rides from the scope of services to be produced." Mr. Kaplan, the representative for both the 22nd and 32nd DAs, should agree that a competitive bid for all the midway games operations will dramatically increase revenues for the districts. The negotiated and agreed upon rental rate by RCS for Del Mar in 2019 was 24.5%. After reviewing the communication between RCS and the OC Fair, before the last RFP, RCS offered 6% of the games gross to the district. That is 4 times less than offered to Del Mar. The Orange County Fair hasn't been a priority to others. I'm here to tell you today, it's a priority to me. A great priority. After considering the unlimited potential that the Orange County Fair has, Allstate is proposing that the OC Fair issue 2 separate RFPs in the future to maximize revenues by receiving their fair share of the game gross. In the negotiations for the last contract, the fair was offered under $300,000 a year for the game revenue share. Under that proposal, the fair would have received between $2.5 and $3.5 million over the tenure of the contract for the game operations. If an RFP game operations is issued in the future, Allstate is prepared to bid a minimum of $15 million and up to a possible $25 million for all game operations, which that will include a multi-million-dollar signing bonus in return for a 10-year contract as issued in the past. Imagine what the OC Fair could have done with another $10 million that they should have been entitled to. A great deal is when both parties feel the... Thank you.
Thanks, Adam.
Thank you.
I'd like to call Vincent Palmier.
Good evening, and I want to emphasize the word evening. I want to thank you. First, I want to thank the 32nd DAA for having this meeting. It's important that we have the public disclosure of the nearly $50 million annual budget that this organization has. I also want to thank the board for having this meeting in the evening when many people who work full-time can't attend a weekday, day-long event. I have asked many times for such meetings, and I'm grateful that we finally got one, and I truly am thankful that we're having it. I also want to relay an anecdote. As we go into a new era with a new CEO, I want to relate an anecdote that happened this week. Over the weekend, I noted that the public meetings portion of the OC Fair website went down, and none of the information that goes out to the public for public meetings was available. And since this is the primary portal for such information to go out, that was very concerning to me. And so early this week, I sent an email to Michelle Richards, acting CEO, and informed her of the problem and asked her to have it corrected. Now, as many of you know, and it shouldn't come to a surprise to a lot of you, I've sent a lot of emails over the years to the CEO of the Orange County Fairgrounds. Something happened that has never happened before, ever. I got a reply. I got a reply from Michelle who said, "Thank you, we're looking into it, and we're going to get that fixed as soon as we can." And it was fixed quite promptly. And so I want to thank her, I want to thank the staff, I want to thank for taking it seriously, for getting back to me, and for communicating. I'm hoping this is a harbinger of a new day, and I'm hoping this is a harbinger of better communications, greater openness, and greater insight. And finally, I just want to say, for all of those things, thank you.
I'd like to call Reggie Mundicus.
Hi, I'm Reggie Mundicus, and I'd like to thank the board for having an evening meeting. This is when people who work during the day or go to school during the day can attend and participate in the public property that is the Orange County Fairgrounds. So thank you for having an evening meeting. Let's work towards having more evening meetings during the coming year and work towards better public engagement. So thank you all for opening up the process and being more open and accountable with the public going forward. Thank you.
Jay Humphrey.
Good evening, board and staff. It's a pleasure to see full staff here with us today, and I think it's great. I'm going to reiterate those issues. I'm not going to be able to stay tonight, but this meeting was too important to ignore and not show up at all and make some comment. And the comment is real simple. Thank you for being here tonight, for being here in the evening, for having a public meeting to deal with the new budget, and hopefully we're going to see many such these kind of programs over and over again. You know, you've heard me multiple times asking for evening meetings, and the reason is real simple. I can come to day meetings, but an awful lot of people can't come to day meetings. They can only come to evening meetings. And there's a lot of talent out there of people that have good ideas, good thoughts, and good suggestions of ways to fix things that maybe we haven't all thought about. And those folks don't get here, and you don't get that input. The one thing I would ask is that realize this is the first meeting that's been an evening meeting really in quite a while. And one of the things that happens is until the public gets aware that that's going to happen, you are going to get a relatively low turnout. But as you guys continue to inform the public that you're going to have evening meetings, you have them, what's going to happen is more and more public will show up ultimately, and you will start getting people that are truly interested in what happens and how that interfaces with Costa Mesa. So thank you very much for having this evening meeting, and look forward to getting the input about what you guys actually did. I would love to stay, but I have a family commitment that I had to make long ago. And it's important that you guys know that this is an important thing to do. By the way, you heard me talk about my hearing, and you have staff that consistently make sure that my problem and people like my problem are taken care of. I would ask that as your staff are all looking toward that some of the handicap issues that you're all aware of and you all care about, but you look a little farther, a little step higher, a little place to the left, to the right, whatever, to find maybe how that can interface within the process of what you're doing every day. Thank you very much, and have a nice evening.
And that concludes all matters of public comment. Is it in this card deck?
We have it under the agenda item number 6, is what you wrote
Do you-
down
do
as
you
as
wanna
far
do
as
it?
the budget.
Okay. Yeah, we're gonna have interjections in the middle for agenda item comments. No problem. So with that, we're gonna get into the budget study session information item. Thanks to all staff and all members of the public for, staying the late hours and doing this. I know this is our first time, doing this run, so we don't expect it to be perfect, but really appreciate everyone for being here and doing it. And I think this will help increase transparency with regards to the financials and how budgets are made at the fair, and ease a lot of concerns with regards to the board has and the public has. So really appreciate it. And with that, I'll turn it over to Michelle.
All right. Summer, you going to click for us? All right. Let me start off first by just noting that this room looks a little bit different tonight, right?
Yeah.
I just want to recognize the staff that are here today. These are the people that own the budgets that we'll be talking about. They know more about their budgets than anybody. They've worked extremely hard over the last month or so in this budget process, and I just want to acknowledge the work that they've done. I will admit that some of us in this room are a little nervous tonight, but that's okay, because this is a study session. It's a workshop. It's an opportunity for the board to ask questions, for us to give answers. If we don't have the answer to those questions, we're going to say we don't have the answer, and we'll go off and study it, because that's what this workshop is all about. So I want to welcome everybody and thank you for your patience. This has been kind of an extraordinary couple of weeks here, but we've pulled together and we have put together what we feel is a very strong, realistic budget, and we look forward to rolling that out to all of you. This is the first time that staff and members of the board will have an opportunity to review this first draft of the budget, but it won't be the last. I want to assure everybody of that. We welcome comments from the public. I'm sorry that you're having to look at the back of our heads, but it's the only way we could get everybody in here. We're not ignoring you. And as Committee Chair Pham said, we will have opportunities throughout tonight's session at your discretion to stop and see if anyone has any questions or comments. And we're also happy to take any follow-up questions after the study session as well. The full board will go through a very similar open workshop next Thursday at the regular November board meeting. It will be another opportunity, and we'll keep working on it until we get it right and the board feels that the budget is ready for approval. You might notice this distinguished gentleman sitting to my left, a familiar face. I just want to, for those of you that don't know, this is Doug Lofstrom. Doug is a former director and CEO of the OC Fair. I worked under Doug, and I asked Doug to come back in the interim to help backfill my old position as VP of Business Development to provide some continuity to staff. He's a known character to our staff, and I know he's been welcomed back, so thank you very much, Doug. Doug is allowing me to step away from what I was doing to move on to matters of the board as well. You've got a lot of materials in front of you. The first thing I want to point out, and for members of the public that didn't get it, there's copies of all the materials at the back, but you've got an org chart. We're going to start with that because we feel it's important for you to know as we go through the budget presentations who is who and how their budgets roll up to the big picture. So if you keep that in front of you, and we're actually going to start with me and then go in order around the circle as each function presents their budget. You also have copies, hard copies of all of the worksheets. This is the detailed worksheets that roll up into the larger budget. So as the budget holder goes through their budget, they'll refer to a budget number, and they're all in numerical order. So you can look at the worksheets. They'll be up on the slides as well. And we'll take any questions as we go through those budgets. Then we'll be talking about the proposed budget as a roll-up compared to the forecast for 2019 results. So you'll see that. And did I miss anything? Oh, and the capital. We've got the list of capital and major projects as well. So we want this to be very informal. Lots of discussion, happy to take lots of questions, and we will be here as long as you all need us to be here tonight, all right? All right, everybody ready? Okay, let's go. So I'll remind everybody of our budget process. Our fiscal year runs as the calendar runs from January through December. Budgets are created for each department and then consolidated into an organization-wide budget. The 56 departmental budgets that we'll review tonight are directly overseen by 18 management staff, and you'll see those 18 people around the room tonight. And through monthly variance reports and mid-year review, each department's budget will be closely monitored as we go along. Budget review will be a regular part of our monthly leadership meetings so that we know on a regular basis how we're doing against budget, okay? Now let me talk about the 2019 budget. I think it's very important for the board and for the public to understand that as we worked through the 2019 budget, and then especially as we were working on the 2020 budget, we found some technical glitches that affected the roll-up in several areas. For example, entire months of expenses in some departments were missing from the roll-up. It was not intentional, it was not planned, it was a technical glitch in the final roll-up from Excel spreadsheets into Intuitive, which is the enterprise program that we use. So as a result, we reviewed last year's data with an eye to the future, and we built the 2020 budget from the ground up. The reason being that we just didn't assume that last year's data was correct. So rather than kind of starting where we left off last year, we wiped the slate clean. And actually, that's not altogether a negative. And I think as most people around the room would agree, that it really forced everyone to take a good, hard, realistic look at their budget. So rather than just maybe transferring numbers from 2019 to 2020, it caused everyone to rethink the way they budget and to question every single number. And sometimes the best start is to just start fresh and move on, and that's what we've done. So comparing the 2020 budget to the 2019 budget would not necessarily be meaningful because of those glitches. So more realistic, we're comparing our 2019 forecast to the budget. We won't know until the very end of the year how it will realistically roll up, but it's the best information that we have to date.
Michelle, what was the range in the glitches, like percent-wise?
Oh, my goodness. Yeah.
Or can you tell us what the bottom line number was? The bottom line number was, you said the glitch was how it rolled up.
Yes,
But we had a number that we approved.
correct,
What was that number?
correct.
That would help me.
I don't do we have that in front of us?
On recollection, I believe net proceeds were around 4 million at the
4
time.
million, yeah.
Just as an add-on question, you had mentioned some of the glitches stem from the Excel
Yeah,
transition over to the ERP system Intuitive.
yes.
How does the Excel get to the Intuitive? Is it through a CSV file that gets uploaded, or is it just hard entered from this to this?
Yeah, I'm going to turn to our finance department. Esther, do you have?
We worked with Intuitive. They sent us a spreadsheet with a macro built in.
Got it.
And we uploaded that. In addition, once we were finished uploading, both Elaine and I and lots of people around here, we've reviewed these budgets over and over to make sure that nothing was lost. There were a few glitches in our initial roll-up, and we found them and corrected them. So what you're looking at today is our best estimate of what 2020 will be.
So we're going with the best information that we've got.
Well, but for our next week, if we could have what that bottom line was?
Sure.
Unless you know, Esther,
I don't know, but I could always skip out and,
because that number shouldn't have changed, right? I
Right.
can at least get a gauge that
Right,
where
So
I
it'll be
am
based
for
on the
19.
forecast.
right.
I can go get.
That would be great.
Okay, excuse me.
Okay, so we'll have Esther come back with that information.
Well, at least
See?
next week.
It's a workshop.
Okay.
It's a workshop,
No,
right?
we get it. We get it.
Okay,
Yeah.
good. Okay, let me talk about some of the assumptions that went into building the 2020 budget. First and foremost, we looked at economic factors, because as you're planning an event, especially as large as the fair and our year-round events program, if we're not keeping an eye on the economy, then we're not doing an effective job of forecasting. So we are experiencing one of the greatest expansions, economic expansions in our nation's history. However, that expansion is old and it's been aging for quite a while. So we took that into consideration. We also look at some headwinds that we may be facing in 2019. And I really have to credit a couple of economic forecast conferences that we attended recently with OCBC. So thank you for putting on those great events. They certainly helped confirm some of the information that we had been studying as well. So some of the headwinds that we feel will affect the economy in 2020 are continuing trade wars, sluggish global growth, geopolitical risks. We've got an election year coming up in 2020. There is really not anything that is stimulating the economy right now. It's fading at this point. And so the baseline scenario for 2020 from top Orange County economists is that while we're flirting with recession over the next 12 to 18 months, the U.S. economy will manage to escape it, but just barely. Now, what that means for our customers, the people who come to our events, open up their wallets to pay for parking and pay for the fare, is that they may hold back a little bit because there are consumer fears of recession. And in fact, there's now a fear that fear will spark a recession. Okay? So when you're in the business that we are, consumers can be very, finicky about their expendable dollars. And they may decide, we're still coming to the fair this year, we love it, we never miss it, but we're probably not going to spend as much money at the fair. So we wanted to take a very, very conservative approach to our revenue projections, but then also cut back as much as we possibly could on expenses, and we'll go over that. I love this quote. Walt Disney said, "I've heard there's going to be a recession. I've decided not to participate." And that may be fine, but that's not advice that we're going to take in 2020, okay? Probably the biggest factor affecting our 2020 budget is our labor outlook. So minimum wage is currently $12 an hour. We pay our lowest paid positions at $12.25 per hour. That extra 25 cents per hour gives us a little bit of a competitive edge in hiring all of the people that we have to hire for the fair. But as a recruiting incentive, yeah, we pay $12.25. Minimum wage is going to increase in January to $13 an hour, so we'll follow suit by paying a quarter above minimum wage, which is $13.25. In addition to that, there have been increases in our obligations to PERS, so the employer contribution to PERS has increased. We are not asking for any new civil service headcount. We feel that we are properly staffed at this point with our civil service. And in fact, many departments have found staffing efficiencies with our seasonal employees during the fair. So through some new tools that we're putting in place, they've been able to cut back on hours or cut back on bodies with our seasonal staff. And Love, I know you did a great job with that this year. So believe it or not, our year-over-year variance in labor is almost $1.9 million, meaning we will pay more than almost $1.9 million more for labor than we did last year, and that's as of our September forecast. So keep that in mind. It's a huge, huge impact. And next year, minimum wage will go up again. So we've got to keep that in mind. Another factor affecting the budget, only though slightly, do you remember we've been tracking that GASB 68 pension liability? So the General Accounting Standards Board requires that we book our pension liability in our budget each year. And in the last couple of years, we've been booking $900,000. Our actual rate is much closer to $600,000, so we've made that adjustment for this year. Something that's on the horizon is another California Senate Bill 84. It's called the Supplement Payment Obligations. This was signed by the governor in July of 2017. This bill authorized the transfer of up to $6 billion from the state's surplus money investment fund as a cash loan, then proceeds of which would supplement the state's employer contributions to PERS. So basically it was to be able to fund the employer contributions into the PERS fund for the 2017-2018 fiscal year. Well, we're being told by the state it's time to pay back that money, and the DAAs have a payback obligation of $9.9 million of that $6 billion to be paid back over 5 years, beginning with the state's 2020-2021 fiscal year, which kicks in July 1st. However, we don't yet know what our portion of that $9.9 million will be, or if the first payment will even be due any time during 2020. And CDFA, as such, is recommending that the first payback amount not be included in the 2020 budget. So we have not included that. We have no way of estimating what the timing is going to be and what that amount will be until we receive information from CDFA. So once we get that information, we'll bring that back to the board, and we may need to amend the budget to account for that.
Mr. Chair,
Yes.
can we just ask questions anytime?
Yeah.
Okay.
Feel free.
You said that all the DAs,
Yes,
all, 30, whatever it is,
72
72?
DAAs. No, 54 DAs. Sorry, 72 fairs, yeah. 52 of those are DAAs. Yeah. So everybody's on pins and needles about what that might
San
be.
Diego, and we'll get the biggest piece, so.
Yes, and
Why is that?
Because we're the largest.
yes.
I mean, the smaller ones aren't gonna be able to pay.
No, and actually, I was at a meeting in Sacramento last week, and this was a big topic of discussion. And the amount of payback will be based on the number of civil service employees you have, because it involves the employer contribution into PERS. Yeah, so San Diego does have more headcount than we do, so. Yes, oh, yeah, Ken reminded me too. We also don't know whether there will be interest that has to be paid back on that loan as well, so, cha-ching, right? So
But
we,
it's not affect us in 2020, just 2021 is when they're gonna.
well, the 2020-2021 fiscal year for the state starts July 1st, so there is a possibility that we might be assessed, 1/5 of that, the latter part of the year, but they can't give us any information on it. So anyhow, you can imagine it was a room full of people that were a little bit upset about that.
As a reminder, it was 9.9 million for the total amount?
9.9 million for all the DAAs.
Right.
And, but statewide, it was 6 billion. So other state agencies have to pay their share back as well, so.
And the reason that hurts them so bad, some DAs can't even keep the water running.
That's right. There's a lot of concern about that, yeah.
When that bill comes, they're really gonna be.
Yeah, lots. But then again, a lot of those smaller DAAs have 2 civil service employees. You know, a CEO and a maintenance supervisor, yeah, so. Anyhow, we always want to make sure that our rental rates, either year-round or during the fair, reflect competitive market rates. And so built into the budget is a very small increase on our building rental fees per day, $25 to $75 per day, depending on the size of the building or the location. And then the merchant space fees, that's the fees that our merchants pay to be with us during the fair. Those are increasing, depending on the size and location, anywhere between $25 and $75 for the entire run of the fair. So it averages about $3 per day, okay? And by the way, when we research our competitive rates, we look directly at the other Southern California fairs that are close in size to us, LA County Fair and San Diego County Fair. Okay? We are not asking for an increase in our fair admission or our parking rates this year. The board can certainly decide, once you see the roll-up and the net proceeds, if an increase is warranted. But we believe that we can stay profitable without increasing this year. Next year might be a different story when we take that other $1 per hour increase. But our parking, just to remind everyone, is $9 year-round, $10 at fair time. And then our fair admission is $12 on weekdays, $14 on weekends, and $7 for kids and seniors, okay?
When was the last increase?
This will be the 3rd year that we raised our weekdays from $12 to $14. So we haven't raised weekday rates in quite a while, yeah. Also built into our budget is travel, and a policy requires us to seek approval from the board for any out-of-state travel that we have, but we wanted to include all of our planned travel. There are conferences and conventions that we go to every year. Some of them are fair industry conventions. Some of them are more technical conferences that, deal with different aspects of our work. There are lots of training and learning opportunities that we take advantage of as well, venue-related, fair-related, and technical-related training. And then there are a couple of opportunities for us to survey other fairs within the Western Fairs Association network as well. I want to assure the board that all travel is in compliance with California law. We were able to trim our budget a little bit, between 2020 and 2019. So last year we spent a little over 100, or budgeted over a little over 104,000 and we'll keep that under 104,000 this year. Okay?
Do we have an idea, or can we get a breakdown of how many people are going? I mean, WFA obviously is huge.
Yes.
But some of the other ones seem more department-specific.
Yes,
Can
they
we just get
are.
an idea of how
Yep.
many people are going to each one and what the
Yep.
cost is?
We have a spreadsheet for that,
Oh,
and I'll make sure that that gets included in the materials for next Thursday's board meeting as well. Or I can certainly give you a copy now, too. And thank you, Summer, for putting that spreadsheet together. That was a joy, huh? I want to talk a couple of minutes about something that we built into the budget as well. There has been much discussion in this room about where the fair's dollars go to in terms of supporting the community. And as you know, there are many programs built in that are ongoing with the fair. For example, OCFEC Kids Club, or Friends of the Fair that we do every year, or our support of our Hatch Culinary Lab, our student programs like Big Brothers Big Sisters Workplace Mentoring. But I know that there's been some concern about other cash contributions that are made to organizations, in addition to what events are we sponsoring? What tickets are we purchasing for fundraising events? And so what we're proposing is a bucket of money, the Community Engagement Fund, that's built into our community engagement budget. We're recommending $150,000 in that fund for 2020. And we're also recommending the creation of an employee board panel that would evaluate opportunities that come to us, so that it's not one or two people making that decision, but it's rather a cross-functional group of people that are looking at the opportunities, measuring them against our mission statement, choosing the ones that align most closely, and then recommending where those dollars should go. So when we get down to that budget item, I'll go into a little more detail about that.
So I noticed the community outreach, line 88, is more than the 150.
Yes.
That's, so there's other stuff in there.
Right.
Okay,
It
I'll
includes
wait.
all of, like, not Imaginology, but it includes OCFEC Kids Club and, some of the other community givebacks that we do as well. This community engagement bucket would include those opportunities that come across our desk to sponsor this event or support that event, okay? So, I'm happy to stop and take questions from the board. We're now getting into the section where we'll start going through the worksheets one by one, if you like.
I think before we do that, we should give an opportunity for the public.
Sure.
No matter comments. So it's the first time go around. We're gonna do one more at the end after everyone kind of has a chance to speak as well. But if you want to speak right now, please let me know. Vincent Palmier.
I just wanted to say up front, and I want to reserve some time for at the end too, but I want to say thus far I'm very pleased with what I'm seeing. I'm hearing at least the right things and a lot of talk. I would hope that the view graphs and stuff will be made available. They were not on the website, and we haven't seen them. And so there's a lot of information here that the public, as well as you and the members of the board, are absorbing for the very first time. And I did have a very specific question, which was that community outreach item that Michelle mentioned. I was curious where that gets rolled up, if that's rolled up in one place in the budget in the 60 odd pages of spreadsheets, or if it's spread throughout, and get a little more information about that. Thank you.
Yeah, I'll speak specifically to that budget number too, that department number, 88, Department 88.
Reggie Mundicus.
Hi, I'm Reggie Mundicus, and I'd like to thank you for the documents that you've provided regarding the budget and the roll-up. And I'm looking forward to finding out more in detail how some of these budgets are working as far as the who, the what, the where, the when, the why, and the how of the money being expended, and also this, also the who, the what, the where, the when, the why, and the how for capital budget projects. So, thank you.
Leanne Cazalis.
Good evening. My name is Leanne Cazolis, and I'm here just to talk briefly about the Equestrian Center. In the description of the OC Fair and Event Center and the formal request for proposals, the Equestrian Center is described as one of 2 additional programs for the public that are independently operated. The Equestrian Center includes barns, riding arenas, and other facilities supporting the equine community used by private boarders and trainers. Members of the public are also welcome to visit. And I think the wording here is a little misleading. First of all, members of the public like myself are able to board and ride our horses there, just as all members of the public can choose to come and visit, take lessons, participate in the community events and whatnot. And I know this might seem like it has very little to do with a budget discussion, but I think it's important about the philosophy that the Equestrian Center seems to be viewed as this private enclave that just happens to sit over there. And I think that needs to be reconsidered. We prefer to see it like this, that the executive staff and board have an incredible resource on this property, like Centennial Farm or Heroes Hall, or in fact any of the fairground's great public venues. It's a highly used one. And so, to use a metaphor, and follow me here, we'd like to see it as a really cool, unique in the area, apartment housing and recreation complex. There's a property management company, in this case ESI, in charge of the day-to-day repairs, maintenance, collecting the rent, hiring and paying maintenance workers, ordering supplies necessary to keep the place operating, waste removal, keep the lights on, water flowing, and all the tenants happy and healthy. Our tenants just happen to have 4 legs instead of 2. ESI does this. Repairs and maintenance are made, light bulbs are changed, holes are patched, rusted spots are covered. The recreation area is maintained daily, etc. This year marks the 40th birthday of the Equestrian Center. And just like any house or apartment building or recreation complex that reaches 40 years of age, there are repairs, upkeeps, upgrades that are necessary to maintain the quality of the resource that exists that may go above and beyond making repairs to the day-and-day wear and tear. We believe this comes down to the definition of the difference between repairs and capital improvements. I prepared a chart. I didn't make as many copies. I wasn't expecting this many faces. Where we just simply go over, what's a capital improvement, where it puts a property into better operating conditions, restores property to a like-new condition, involves upgrading to modern standards and adding additions and improvements. Just as an apartment and recreation complex, after 40 years of heavy use, wear and tear, and with new technologies and more efficient ways of doing things, we feel now might be the time for the supervisory boards charged with maintaining the fairgrounds infrastructure and upgrades to invest in capital improvements in the Equestrian Center. On this table, we've made a list of suggestions. It's not comprehensive. It's a group of us sitting down and just brainstorming what we would like to see perhaps put into the budget for the Equestrian Center. Some are needs, some are wants. My friend Gibron's going to go over some of that stuff, and whether we get to discuss this with small groups, where there's a restatement of the Equestrian Center ad hoc committee of the board members. We just want to open up conversations and see how improvements can be made.
Thank you.
Just in the nick of time. Great.
So I'll give these to Summer to maybe distribute to.
Gibron, Stout. Take your time. Yep.
So no questions from here tonight, just the 3 minutes, correct?
Can you clarify?
I just had some questions regarding some of the handouts, just specific questions on the budget items and things like that.
I mean, I think you can speak to it.
Okay. I was just curious, on one of the budget items, there was a couple multi-million-dollar sources of income that were listed as miscellaneous or other, and I was just not sure where to find those items. Also curious, who's in charge of the Equestrian Center? So I know we had the chart there. I was just curious who that is. So I don't want to waste my time asking the questions. I'd rather submit them to you otherwise. But anyway, in regards to the Equestrian Center, like Leanne said, I know there's some gray area about capital improvement versus repairs. And it would be fantastic if we could reinstate the ad hoc committee so we could have these conversations, because clearly they're extensive. And then we could come to the board with some ideas and recommendations. We have some capital improvement items that need to be done that are due to the fire marshal report. That was done last year. The fire system was outdated and has been brought up to code. We're thrilled with that. It's fantastic. But I'd also like to visit, during the fire marshal inspection, they noted that the overnight quarters for the staff, security, and workers was in violations of safety code and fire code, needed to be brought up. Curious to know where that is in the budget. I didn't see it. Let's see, they've been relocated to trailers in the back of the facility, which doesn't really make sense because there's supposed to be security, and everything that needs securing is at the opposite end of the property. Horses, animals, equipment, structures, that sort of thing. So if we could get that taken care of. Also, some other fantastic capital improvements to make it more useful for community outreach. Maybe a covered arena built very similarly to the promenade, something open, you don't need to light. Let's put some solar panels on top. Also, I did speak to Rick and Kurt, and they said it would be fantastic if we could have LED lighting out there, which would be a huge, huge, huge saver. Let's see. Oh, other issues noted by the fire marshal was the shipping container that we've been having to use for our workshop. It also secures a lot of the expensive equipment. So I think that those are items that aren't hugely expensive, but clearly need to be included in the budget. I noticed that on one of the handouts, it had listed $50,000 in expense. And I was curious, was that just utilities, or is there something else that I was missing? Because as far as I can see, there's income from the equestrian center, but there's no expense. And so would really, again, like to reiterate, let's reinstate the ad hoc committee so these crazy equestrians can come and have conversations that aren't in the meeting, and we don't have 40, people out here in riding boots. Please.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Michelle, I have a question. And this is just simply a question because I'm not really sure how the relationship works with the equestrian and the fair. So I understand the infrastructure's on the fairgrounds property, but what is the relationship that we have with the equestrians and the private operator?
I'm going to throw that to Ken. Basically, the OC Fair and Event Center outsources management of the equestrian center to a private organization. That's it?
Do they have to bid, do they bid for that contract every year?
Currently, we're on, the contract expired years ago, and they've been on a month-to-month for a few years now.
Is that something the board should consider exploring? Because it would seem wise to have a contract in place as opposed to a month-to-month. I mean, even if you have a tenant, it's not something that makes good business sense to have them on a month-to-month. Just something to throw out there for budgeting purposes.
No, I think it would make sense, yeah.
Why is it month to month? Instead of just solidifying a contract, has there been? Long story?
So some of it is due to the operators and family obligations and issues, and I don't want to talk to their business. The other is whether or not, we haven't had the appetite to tackle that, and if that's the direction of the board, of course we will.
Okay. Carolyn Bieber?
Thank you. Good evening. I'm Carolyn Beaver. I am one of the equestrians at the Equestrian Center, and I'm also the chairman of an organization called Changing Strides, which I believe many of the board members are aware that we created this nonprofit organization over this last year in order to provide a number of programs to serve as an umbrella organization to provide equine therapy to veterans, battered women, people with mental health issues, and also to provide a riding program for at-risk youth. And over this last year, we have received our 501c3 designation, which took quite a bit of time to get. And we've gotten our website up and running, although still don't have the donation link on the website, so we're working on that. We have started providing services to a few kids, and right now we're at a lull right now because the kids had some transportation issues, but we want to get that going again and get more kids involved. And I will say that for those kids that were involved in coming to be able to ride a horse, these are kids that in some cases their parents were in jail or other really dire circumstances for these kids that had absolutely nothing to look forward to in their lives. And for them to come and be able to ride a horse meant everything to them. And to see those smiles on their faces was just really something wonderful. So we really need to get that going more and take the opportunity to help more kids and really, make a world of difference in the lives of those children. So with that, we'd like the board to consider including Changing Strides, a donation for Changing Strides, and whether that ends up being part of the bucket that Michelle mentioned or a separate place in the budget. But we would encourage you to think about that. Obviously, as you know, horses are expensive, and that's part of the program. So far everything we've done has basically been at the trainer's expense, and really because we haven't done enough fundraising to cover that yet. But we do need to be able to pay the trainers and for the use of the horses for the program. And we do have some great horses that the trainers have that could be used more for kids in that program. So thanks very much.
What's the website URL for that?
That's a good question, and I will get that to you. I'll just double check. I think it's like changingstrides.org, but I'll double check. Thank you.
Alrighty, with that, we can head into the more detailed portion of the budget.
So this is how we're gonna do this, if everyone is okay. If they're not, we can change it up. But each department budget holder is going to make a very brief, right, everybody? Very brief presentation overview of what encompasses that budget and the amount of revenue that might be generated from that budget, and then broken down by labor expenses and then non-labor expenses, the big buckets. Then we can turn to the worksheet itself, and you have copies of all of that. Please, everybody, remind the public and our board members of what department number it is. So we can go to that worksheet, and we'll be happy to answer any specific questions that come up too. So I'm gonna start off with administration. That's Department 06. This is our general administrative department encompassing executive staff and board of directors activities. Major responsibilities include managing the administrative functions of the organization, coordinating board activities, including committee meetings like the one we're doing tonight, and monthly board meetings. This is the department that acts as liaison with our state oversight departments like the California Department of Food and Agriculture. We provide executive leadership to all the organizational departments, oversight of travel for state employees, and this is also the budget that manages revenue and expenses, including insurance, legal services, income interest, and of course, our wonderful GASB 68 posting, okay? Revenue in this department is $1,234,400. That includes revenue that we receive by being reimbursed for public records requests that come through, and also being reimbursed for board expenses for guests during the annual fair. But the biggest part is our interest income is in this budget. So that accounts for 1.23 million of that. Labor is 1.55 million. There are 7 civil service employees in this budget. Specifically, at this moment, Summer, Doug, Ken, myself. We have a civil service employee who takes care of public records requests, and we have 1 open head count in that department. There's also 2 part-time public records requests individuals, an administrative support person, and then the board concierge during the annual fair. Okay?
For the interest income?
Yes.
Is that based on the current rates, or is there any modeling in terms of, forward rates or anything like that? Because there has been rate cuts and things.
I believe it's based on current rates.
Current rates, yeah. Non-labor expenses are 1.4 million, and you can see the breakdown. The major pieces of that are insurance, travel, the GASB posting, legal services, and professional services. The professional services include our legislative lobbyist as well, okay? So if you want to toggle over to the worksheet. So, any specific questions related to this department?
All the numbers tied.
They do. I love when that happens too, Barbara. It all fits so neatly. All right?
Questions, yeah.
Okay. If I get more than 10 seconds of silence, we're moving on. How's that? Okay? If you'll go to Department 87, that is our sales budget. That's right. It's the only time we're going out of order, yeah.
Department, did you say 7?
87.
Oh, 87, okay, I'm like,
Down near the bottom. Oh, yeah.
yeah, I was like, HR, well.
Yes, we roll, huh? And I'm sorry for the back and forth, but I thought it was more important to go in order of how we're
Yeah,
on
just
the,
keep it with your-
exactly,
yeah.
on the org chart. So, this department is responsible for new year-round event sales, so all of the new events that come to us. Sponsorship sales for our self-produced events like the fair and Imaginology, our Platinum Partners premium space sales during the annual fair, and then fair time group ticket sales. Major responsibilities are selling all of that. I'll just roll it all up into that. The breakdown of revenue and labor, this budget generates almost $1.9 million in sales revenue, and that's from sponsorships and mobile marketing tours for our self-produced events, and then the Platinum Partner premium sales. The revenue for new event sales goes into a different department, and Howard will talk about that when we get to him. Labor is $5,800 for this department, and I'll remind our board members that this is an outsourced function to our tandem partners. The reason being the state does not have any incentivized job classification. So we outsource our sales function to an outside sales agency. And so you'll see that the largest non-labor expense is sales commission. So on $1.9 million of revenue, sales commission is about $180,000. And then there are the costs related to fulfilling those sponsorships like signs, banners, and tents. Okay? That's Department 87.
This is probably a dumb question, but, so the state does not have a position that allows for commission-based, but then we can pay commissions to a contractor?
That's correct.
Interesting.
That's correct.
Okay.
Yep. Okay.
Do we know how this compares to 2019, the 2019 budget?
We do.
Is it like it's really close, same percentage-wise as far as the space revenue, the sponsorship and sales commission?
Yes, actually, there's a line item for that on the roll-up, Barbara, and I will find it here in just one second. Sponsorship.
Premium expense?
I guess it goes under attractions
Right.
revenue, maybe?
We can get that.
Miscellaneous? Yeah.
Can we add a column to this that has 2019 in it?
Sure.
Because these are
Yeah.
all 2020.
Right, because we're gonna have the number, I guess you weren't here earlier.
Yeah.
They weren't able to do the,
Yeah, were you
Well, it'll be
here?
projected, but I mean, just,
At the
Is that what you're asking
No,
for?
no.
So for 87, there would be what 2019 was, whereas this is all
Now,
2020.
I'm just trying to get a feel for, is this what we normally, like last year,
No,
what did we do for revenue, space
Yeah.
revenue versus sponsorship and sales commission?
Yeah, there's a little bit of growth built into this, about 2 or 3%.
Yeah, because just in general,
Yeah.
I don't need specific
Yeah.
numbers.
That would account for the expected returning sponsors and then, the addition of a few. And Ashley, I'm not sure if you were here at the beginning when I talked about some of the technical glitches that we found in the 2019 budget. And so in building this budget, we were very hesitant to rely on that data because of those glitches. And so what we're going on is, rather than the 2019 budget, we're doing comparisons against the 2019 forecast, which is included on this roll-up sheet. Okay?
And do we pay Tandem, like, I mean, I know we do the sales and commissions. Are we gonna explore with them trying to find title sponsorships to some of our other self-produced events, like Imaginology and?
Yes. So they have secured many sponsorships for Imaginology as well, on a smaller scale, because it's a much smaller event than the fair, obviously. But as Imaginology has continued to grow, we're able to attract, more sponsors and higher price sponsors as well. Yeah. So. And by the way, sales goals are set every year for their performance as well, in all of the sales categories that we have. Okay, we good to move on? Okay, let's go to Department 88, which is Community Engagement. So this department is responsible for coordinating our community outreach and give back programs. Okay, it does not include Imaginology, that's a separate budget, nor does it include OCFEC Kids Club. That's included in our guest services budget, because it happens during fair time, and Terry will go over that when we get to her. Major responsibilities is to manage our community outreach efforts, to provide funding for our ongoing student mentoring programs, like the Big Brothers Big Sisters Workplace Mentoring Program that we're currently involved in, and Hatch Culinary Lab. And then this is the budget that will include oversight of that bucket. I don't know what else to call it. I think bucket is a good word, right? It's just a bucket. And those giving decisions. So if you go to the worksheet for Department 88, you will see right there, under PR manager functions, is that $150,000. And that's funds for committee-approved involvement in, there's my notes, approved involvement in community events, activities, and programs. Okay?
And the 750 is?
750 is, sorry. Oh, yes. So every year we do an event to welcome elected officials from throughout Orange County to introduce them to the fair. Mainly our Orange County city elected officials, so that they help us promote the fair.
So in 2019, we had a similar category, and that's where that money came from?
That's correct.
And did this go up or down?
It stayed the same.
Stayed the same?
Yeah. We did not have the 150,000 last year, Barbara. Yeah.
Well, it's just a different way of collecting.
Exactly.
Okay.
We're
Which I like,
putting
because
it all
it's
in.
Very obvious.
We're putting it all in a bucket. Yes. Okay?
And this doesn't include professional memberships with organizations that you might be a member of, or Ken might be a member of.
No, that is in the administration budget. So all of our memberships in like WFA or, I think in our chamber membership, for example, is in the administration
So
budget.
this is just sponsorships.
Yes, exactly.
So, and
Yeah.
I actually think I like the idea of putting it into a bucket because it's more manageable. Ashley and I actually sat on the Anaheim Community Services Board many moons ago, and there was a process there where nonprofits would come before the city and request funds, but it was a very formal process, not to add more work, but it was a good way to vet some of these nonprofits so they're not just coming to the fair and expecting us to sponsor certain things, because we are a nonprofit too.
Yeah, it would be the responsibility of that panel to measure that opportunity against our mission and our values, how closely aligned is that organization. I'll give you a perfect example. I know that many of the board members know that I was recently elected to the Board of Directors of the Girl Scouts of Orange County. There's lots of opportunities to sponsor Girl Scout events. And although the Girl Scouts are closely aligned, their mission to our mission, that's not necessarily a decision that I would want to make. Are we going to, provide funding for this organization or sponsor this event or buy a table at that event? Personally, I would prefer for a cross-functional panel that would help make those decisions as well, mindful of what our mission is and measuring the alignment between that organization and this organization's mission.
I'm just saying, because they weren't here earlier, and that was the recommendation, that they have a staff board type panel.
Yes.
That's gonna make those decisions.
Right.
So I think it's a great idea.
I recall you saying that, and I like it.
Yeah,
Yeah, I like that.
I think it's a good practice.
even when I call it a bucket?
I
You
like the
it?
bucket.
Okay, good. All right.
I'm gonna go backwards. But so where under administration on number 6 is professional organizations and what type of
We'll go through.
process?
Yeah.
I know we already did 6, but
That's okay, we'll go back. So if you look under dues, subs, and fees.
Okay.
So that is for our membership in the International Association of Fairs and Expositions and the International Association of Venue Management. The 4,300 is our membership dues for WFA. 1,180 is our membership in the Costa Mesa Chamber of Commerce. 600 is our membership in 1OC. 1850 is, we are currently members of the Santa Ana Chamber of Commerce as well. That's the largest chamber in Orange County. NICA is the National Independent Concessionaires Association, $150. OABA is the Outdoor Amusement Business Association. Anaheim Chamber in August. And I think that's it. Yes.
So is this document posted, or will be posted?
This is not, because these are active Excel spreadsheets.
Right, but what I was, because you can save them in PDF and have
Yes.
interactive too, because I love these notes.
Yeah, these are posted, and you can have the interactive notes in PDF format.
You can print with the notes showing. It'll be wonky looking. It'll cover a lot of cells, but you can,
yes,
it's gonna
you're
create
right.
a lot of,
You're right. You know
open
what we
boxes.
can do, once we finalize the budget, I think we can transfer all of the notes into a right-hand column. I know that's a lot of work, but happy to do that, whatever.
yeah, we can reevaluate that
Okay.
later.
Running them off, and I looked up and I said, oh,
There they are.
yeah,
Yeah.
those are good notes there.
Yeah. Okay. Any other questions on 88? All right, we're going to start over here with Bianca Kolbach, our Director of Human Resources.
Good evening, everyone. Can you hear me okay? Human Resources is 07, our budget number. And the overview for us is we build strategic partnerships with all levels of the organization in an effort to meet goals, minimize risk, create a fun, safe, and healthy work environment, all with a customer-centered focus. Major department responsibilities, workforce planning and employment. Some examples of this is succession planning and upward mobility, which is part of the state's programming that they require us to participate in. Job analysis and knowledge transfer documentation. This is something that we just recently started doing as part of succession planning, but also identifying critical functions, like Kelly's is the only one that does contracts, so just trying to capture that institutional knowledge. So we're having those positions shadowed, and we're documenting processes and that kind of stuff to be able to create records of all that. Centralized hiring for temporary employees and civil service employees. Our HR department hires a team pre-fair every year of 6 people that allows us to do all of the sourcing and interviewing, phone screening, everything for all of our 1,600 people that we hire for the fair. Compensation and benefits, salary surveys we do for seasonal employees. We've been doing that almost annually just because of the increase in the wages that you've been seeing in minimum wage, and it's pretty much tracking that it's flattening is what we're seeing, that a lot of the, like Target and those kinds of places, which are our competitors, are flattening. They're just gonna start going to that $15 an hour as we get to 2022. So that's what we're seeing in the trends there. Medical retirement, workers' compensation, disability, unemployment, training and development. We do online training for all of our requirements for harassment. Professional trainers we have come in and do training presentations, and then our HR staff does in-house training as well. Employee relations, we do investigations, we service awards, recognition programs, and we have a health fair annually that we provide flu shots to our staff. Risk management, compliance, policies and procedures. And also part of the HR umbrella, we oversee the public records request, so our HR staff is the person that does that. And we have Evelyn Hernandez here, who's our main lead that oversees all of that, as well as Jesus, who's not here, Jesus Lara as well. And they basically gather, review, redact requested public information. We have 1 full-time civil service employee that oversees that function, as well as the 2 part-time temporary employees, and as Michelle already indicated, that's part of the 06 budget. In addition to that, our HR team oversees carnival sales, and we have Becky Maraki here, who's our senior personnel specialist, who's done an excellent job of helping to implement controls and process improvements in that department and help to minimize loss that we had seen in the past. So that's our HR function in a nutshell. So we can go over the numbers for 07. And our labor there is, let me go to that page. So we have $848,790 for our labor. We have 5 full-time civil service employees in our department, as well as 3 part-time temporary employees who work year-round. And then, as I indicated, we have the 6 employees that work in staffing, and then 1 additional in our office that helps for our hiring season processing and that kind of stuff. So our non-labor consists of 209,600, and that consists of professional services that you're going to see in that 2,100. The primary things that come out of there are our background screening, which is about 28,000 a year that we spend. We do criminal and Megan's Law on all of our employees each year, returning and new, so we make sure we screen those folks. And then we have our benefit service fees, which is for PERS, PST, and 401k. We have to pay a per-person fee to the administrative fee to CalHR and to California Fair Services Authority for processing those on our behalf. CalHR service fees, we have to be part of the state controllers in the online system, so that's what those fees are. They're about $27,000 a year for those. Unemployment is our highest fee that we have, and that's about $70,000 that we've been paying for, holding pretty steady since about 2016. Before that, we were in the high 90s and low 100,000, so it's gone down quite a bit since 2016. Employee training, legal services. The legal services that come out of our budget are for CalHR, so the other for the AG's office and any other come out of the 06 budget.
That was gonna be my question, so.
Yeah, so that's for Kelly, that's for CalHR legal, yeah. And CalHR, what they do is they service us for our civil service employees. So that's pretty much, they don't represent us for our 119-day temporary staff. It's strictly for civil service related.
And it should be noted that human resources generates zero revenue.
All right. Risk management, that's where our value comes. As much as possible, so, any questions? Very good. I'm gonna cover the carnival sales as well. You know, again, Becky Maraki, give credit to her for putting this together. And that is, budget 58. And that is the South Carnival Ride and game passes to patrons during the annual fair. Major department responsibilities is sell Carnival Ride passes to patrons via cash credit card transactions, maintain accurate inventory of all passes sold and unsold, and then provide excellent customer service to our fair patrons. Carnival sales revenue is $4,109,750. And that comes from 24.5 of the contracted, as in the contracted, sales for Carnival Ride and game passes during the annual fair. The labor there is $581. We have approximately 162 part-time seasonal employees that manage between 21 and 25 booths, average depending on what they bring. We have 2 people per booth that sit in those functions. And the non-labor is $252,400, and the majority of that comes from the bank and credit card fees, and currently that's about $175,000 that we pay 2% on the credit card usage fees that we have to pay. Then we have the ticket and wristbands, and that's just the materials that we use. That's about $38,000 that we spend annually. And our equipment rental is for our radios, cart, tents, chairs, that kind of stuff. And then also, in addition, there's about $15,100 that is in credit card disputes.
So the bank
Annually.
fees is merchant services? It's like per swipe, you get charged
Yes.
percent?
It's pretty standard, right?
Yeah. You can give preferred rates. And Cool.
And that's it. Any
Okay.
questions? Okay.
Bianca, would you mind passing the microphone over to Elaine? And Elaine, yeah.
Actually, if everyone just kind of speaks up, all the mics will kind of pick up.
Oh,
and
okay.
I think it's pretty clear, so
Okay,
it
good.
should be okay.
Good.
All right, good evening. I'm Elaine Kumamoto. I am the Finance Director, and I am going to talk about Department Number 10, which is Accounting, and Department Number 49, which is Cash Operations. The finance area supports the organization by providing financial management and oversight, accounting services, reporting, cash operations, as well as payroll and customer service to internal departments and to the public. The major department responsibilities include general accounting, accounts receivable, and accounts payable. We do the monthly financial reporting that's presented at the board meeting every month. We also handle payroll processing. We process payroll bi-monthly for our civil service full-time employees and bi-weekly for our part-time seasonal employees, and it's all done in-house. We handle cash operations, which includes the receiving, depositing, and collection of all funds. So we're responsible for making timely deposits and the safekeeping of all our funds. And we also do budget monitoring and variance reports on a monthly basis. Our major revenue is our CalCard discounts or rebates that we get, and CalCard is our credit card program run by the state. So depending on when we make our payment for our monthly statement, we will get a rebate based on the volume and the number of transactions for that month. Our biggest cost is labor, and I do need to make a correction on the slide. The $659,429 actually only represents the accounting department and I need to add department number 49. So the total there should be 747,697.
So the Department 49,
Yes, which is cash operations. That's about 88,000.
and you're saying that should be really on,
It should be added to that total labor number of 659.
just on the slide.
Sorry, what was the number
Yeah, just
again?
on the slide.
Sorry,
Uh,
Barbara.
747,697.
That's right. I know exactly.
So the accounting department consists of 5 full-time civil service staff. We hire year-round seasonal staff to support the cash operations. But during fair time, we also hire an additional 22 part-time seasonal staff. 20 of those staff works in cash operations and 2 support the accounting department. The largest 5 expenses that I listed was our credit card and merchant fees. We have professional services, which include our armored delivery service. Equipment rental includes fair time rentals, our tents and mobile units and our carts, furniture rentals, and then supplies, your normal accounting supplies. We have to order, checks and special filing supplies. And then our maintenance agreement, which is for our 9-pocket counting machines that we have in cash operations. We have 2 of those machines. That's it.
Is there a process where every couple of years we looked about whether our bank and credit card, I guess our merchant services fees are competitive with what else is out there?
It has been discussed, but we have not proceeded with that.
How long, who do we currently bank with?
Well, we have several merchant banks. Our main one is with SignaPay, and we do have, he services our Carnival and our accounting merchant account. We have a junior livestock merchant account, Heroes Hall merchant's account, and we also have a camping merchant account. So there are several accounts that he manages for us.
Okay, very good. Moving on. Hi, my name is Kelly Vu. I'm a supervisor for business services. And when Michelle mentioned there's a few nervous ones in this room, she was talking about me.
No, not even.
So, well, I'm going to talk about Department 12. We used to have 2 departments, 4 and 12, but for next year, we're going to combine 4 and 12 together to make one Department 12. Our department provides support to the organization for purchasing of goods and services and generation of contracts within California state purchasing and contracts guidelines. Our major responsibilities are we manage all RFPs and IFBs. We process approximately 280 contracts annually. And when I said RFP, for example, the board governance policy that we just did with Barbara, also sales and janitorial, those are a few examples. We support all the departments. We process up to 3,000 purchasing transaction annually. We make a travel arrangement through Travel Store, which is through DGS. We also manage CalCart program, and this program is through DGS and is contracted with US Bank. We manage business center, keeping the office supplies inventory for the entire agency. And
These non-revenue generating things.
we love to spend money. We love to spend money at department. Our labor is $445,408. We have 3 permanent civil service employees. We have 1 limited term employee. Non-labor is $44,650, and that includes the office supplies for the facility. And also, next year, we're going to centralize the office supplies to our department. We eliminate individual department allocation like we used to have before. Also,
We are proposing $2,000 for PO system, which is for upgrades, add new features, and all staff training, and this is within CUDA. That's it.
You know, I should mention too, on the labor figures that we're presenting, that's all in, including all labor-related expenses, not just wages, but it
Like
includes
benefits and
benefit,
things like
yes,
that.
exactly.
So when you said that next year you're gonna combine all office supplies into your department?
To our department,
So right now,
correct.
it's not that way for 2020, because I'm seeing office supplies on different
Yeah,
departments.
so
That's gonna
in,
be for the
in
next-
2019, each department kind of purchased their own normal office supplies. All of the sort of generic office supplies will now be centrally located so that we can take advantage of some purchasing efficiencies. But there are some departments that have some very unique office supplies. Elaine mentioned a few for finance. Those will stay within those individual departments, but office supplies like pens, pencils, pads, paper clips, paper, that will all now be centralized in business services, so we can take advantage of volume discounts.
Correct.
Yeah.
Okay, my turn. My name is Lev Hertel, and I have the honor of managing a few of the departments here on grounds. So I'm going to walk you through them. We're going to start with the event admissions department. That's department number 31. Our main responsibility for year-round department is responsible for ticketing some of our larger events out with the outside promoters, and also some of our internal events as well. Youth Expo, we provide some of the staff for that as well. This team includes both ticket takers and ticket sellers. Our major department responsibilities are we work with the outside promoters on ticketing strategies. We create and manage ticketed events in Ticketmaster. We sell and scan the tickets for the large year-round events, and we're responsible for reporting and the reconciliation of those events.
Love, can you give an example of a large event that we provide the ticketing for?
Sure, we provide it for a few of our larger events, Pet Expo, Scottish Festival, Cruising for a Cure. So we've worked with some of the outside promoters working on their ticketing strategies and doing their ticketing for them.
And when you said Youth Expo, you really meant Imaginology,
I did.
didn't you?
See, I'm old school. I've been here a while. I'm sorry. The event admissions department doesn't have any revenue, Barbara, but I'll get to you in a little bit. Our labor for this department consists of $197,927. That is for yours truly. And also I have 28 year-round 119-day employees. Our non-labor for this department is $4,940, and that is solely just for the ticket stock that we purchase for using in the Ticketmaster ticket printers. There's actually a larger allocation for ticketing, but we split it up based on which departments use it. There's a blended rate for that. So that's Department 31.
Can I ask a quick question?
Sure.
On account 5018, what is CERBT?
That's under labor?
That's under labor.
Yeah, those are medical benefits. And Barbara, that's only for civil service employees.
That's just me. And if you're ready, next I'd like to walk you through the event parking sales team. This team is responsible for parking sales for all of our year-round events. Our major responsibilities are parking sales for the OC Fair year-round events every weekend. We manage the hang tag sales for the promoters. My team is responsible for the customer service representation, providing frontline contact with our patrons. And we work with the events team and the parking team to create a parking plan each weekend for those events.
And that's department number?
That's Department 38, I apologize. 38. For the event parking sales, revenue and expenses, our revenue shows a 0 in this department. However, that revenue is actually picked up in Howard's department, and so he'll speak to that. But I do, for Barbara's sake, want to let her know that it's $2.49 million annually. But Howard will speak to that. Our labor for this department is $250,936. I have one civil service employee who's a 194, so she's not a full-time regular civil service employee, but she's a 194. And then I have 32 year-round, 119-day employees that manage that. Our non-labor is $17,599. In that are the tickets that we order, and that's the $9 ticket that when you come in and buy a parking ticket, that's what we hand you. And then also the hang tags that we use with our promoters so that they've got a discounted rate for their vendors and some of their special guests that are coming in. The other major non-labor in there is the bank and credit card fees. A couple of years ago, we started taking credit card transactions in the parking lots. It was something new that we did, and so there's a little bit of a revenue bump, a expense bump there.
Nobody carries cash anymore.
No. But now we got them. Because now we take credit
Then
card.
it's like, oh my gosh, how am I gonna pay?
Yeah. And that was 38, and if we're done with 38,
So is there a difference between 38 and 32?
32 is not mine. I have 31 and 38. I apologize for that, Barbara.
So they both say event parking, so just curious.
One is parking and one is parking sales. Those two teams are separate. So as a checks and balances, one are the kiddos that actually direct the traffic, and one are the ones that actually sell the tickets. I have the team that sells the tickets. If we can move on, the next budget is budget number 50, and that's the fair admissions team. The fair admissions team is responsible for gate admission sales for our annual fair. Pretty plain and simple on that one. We sell admission tickets and Super Pass to the patrons that actually come to the gate. Our responsibility includes customer service and providing frontline contact with the patrons, and then we're also responsible for all the reporting and reconciliation of all gate sales. For Barbara, the revenue on this one, I like revenue, Barbara. Our revenue on this one is $8.4 million. That includes both the fair gate admission and the Super Pass. And as Michelle explained earlier, we've left that flat from this year, so that doesn't include any rate increase. The labor for this team is $169,160. We don't have any civil service employees, I oversee that, but we do have 76 part-time seasonal employees. Our non-labor for this department is $128,034. That includes our equipment rental, which are the big giant tent structures that you see at the gates, our carts that we use, the trailer that we use, some of the fencing, office equipment rental. That also includes the tickets, like I said, how we take that and we break it out in the different departments. There's a line in there for the tickets, the blank ticket stock. That includes our uniforms and our credit card fees and chargebacks.
The admissions to grounds on the roll-up, what else does that include besides the gate revenue?
I believe that just includes the gate revenue for the admissions sold and the Super Pass. I'm not sure if that includes the revenue for the pack. Yeah, I do believe it does. Because your fair admission is included in your concert ticket or your ASA ticket, there's a little bit of that comes out that, exactly. Okay. My next department is, you guys are gonna get sick of me, is gate operations. Our gate operations are the kiddos at the gates that have the ticket scanners that welcome you in.
And that's department
Oh,
number.
66, thank you. I'm gonna get this right by the last one, I hope.
Doing great, love.
Thanks, Michelle. This team is responsible for gate ticket scanning functions and welcoming our guests to the annual fair. Our major department responsibilities are we scan the admission tickets to all 4 major entry gates. We also have a couple of smaller non-patron gates that we manage. We ensure that everyone coming through the gate has a ticket, a credential, or a pass, so they're negotiating something to gain access to our grounds. These kiddos are the first line customer service representatives welcome the patrons in. And we're responsible for the gate scan report and the attendance data. Our revenue is zero, but I think that the cost is kind of picked up by the gate admission. Our labor for this department is $176,876. Again, 0 civil service employees. I manage this one. I have a team of 89 part-time seasonal employees who work with me during the fair. Our non-labor for this department is $17,719. Again, it goes back to the equipment rental, the trailer, the carts, the radios, that kind of stuff, the tents, our uniforms, and then our supplies. In this supply budget, we do have some very specialized stuff that Kelly's team won't pick up because we have specialized stamp pads with indelible ink so that, you know, it can't be transferred. And then it also includes some supplies in there for our heat illness prevention program. Those kiddos are out in the heat all day long, along with some of the other teams, and so we try to make sure that we've got all the supplies we need to keep them cool so they don't go down. So that was Department 66.
Do we roll up office supplies anywhere where we can see all the office supplies? I'm just curious with that number. 'Cause
In the
everybody seems
roll-up?
like they have an office supply.
Yeah, I don't believe it's rolled up in the, I mean, as a separate line item in the roll-up. The bulk of it is going to be in Kelly's department in business services.
Here's how much, 'cause
Yeah,
everybody seems to have some office supplies.
Yeah.
They're unique.
the unique office supply,
Where
yeah,
we can see the total.
yeah. But we can get that, yeah.
Okay, next I'm gonna move to Department number 67. I got it.
We're checking them off the list.
That's fair parking sales. So we're responsible for the parking sales for the annual fair. Again, those are the kiddos that are actually selling the tickets. Our major responsibilities are parking sales for the annual fair, customer service representation, frontline contact with the patrons, working with the parking team and the police department to ensure that we have staff ready to when we make the gate changes based on traffic flow, and reporting. Our revenue for fair parking sales is $2.232 million, and that includes both the fair parking, the $10 parking, and it also includes the concert reserved parking that we sell. The labor for this department is $120,580. That includes that same 194-day employee. She moves from the year-round team to the fair team and then back again, so she's represented in both. And then we also have 58 part-time seasonal employees in that team. Our non-labor for fair time parking sales is $25,059, and that includes the tickets, that's the $10 ticket stock, the equipment rental, again, the carts, some of the heat illness prevention program, tents that we use, and some of the other stuff that we use to keep the kiddos chilled, uniforms, and then supplies back down here in the heat illness prevention program, gear and water. So that's fair parking sales. And then my very last one is Department 78. And that's PAC AMP gate operations. So this is the team that's over at PAC AMP that is responsible for scanning tickets for the concert goers. We make sure that everybody that comes through the gate for the concert has a ticket credential or a pass. And again, we provide customer service representation. There's no revenue in this one. The labor for this is a very small team. It's 8 part-time seasonal employees, with the labor at $37,860.
And once in a while, we give her a day off.
That's it for me. Thank you.
Supplies, that's the total.
Okay. Jerry?
So my name is Jerry Eldridge. I'm the facilities director of operations. So all my departments, well, not all, 2 are non-operational, but everyone else is operational. We'll start off with Department 5, which is the marketplace. So our major focus there is to provide the marketplace with support. We do touch a truck when they do a program out there where we bring equipment out and we let the kids climb around on it during one of their events. We we'll move product for them, like we're getting ready to move the containers for them. So we just give them a labor support and try to help them out and make them successful. But also my other obligation to ourselves is to make sure they stay within their contract requirements, keep their scope creep, their creeping of storage size, and just kind of make sure that we're all, staying within our contract expectations. The non-labor costs.
Talk about storage, like when the marketplace isn't going on.
Correct. So you'll see out in the parking lots in several different areas, most of all that is theirs. Lot A along Fairview, Lot H in the corner sometimes, and Lot G back in the corner, and then in the triangle area right by Gate 10. Then over in through Gate 8, they've got some stuff there. They're kind of, in the contract agreement that we went in with Spectra the last time out, we had designated space for them. We just try to keep them in that space. The non-labor costs are $130,000. That's straight through non-labor from my team. It's all Lopez Works, who comes out and they street sweep every night after the event. They pick up all the trash that's left over. A lot of the vendors just take off and leave it, so LWI will come through. He does a lot of extra stuff that isn't expected of him and contractually obligated, but because it's there and his services are the greater cause, the fair, then he just takes care of it. So they'll take it all, they put it out in the 40-yard containers that we have in the back lots.
So it's interesting how it drops off in fair time, July, August.
I carry a fair time budget, and all our operational costs go into the 63, and we'll get to that.
Because this is just
Well,
marketplace.
and the marketplace isn't operating, the marketplace doesn't operate during fair time.
Oh, that's right. That is the answer.
That's more of the answer.
That makes more
yes.
sense to me. But before you do that, miscellaneous revenue, what kind of miscellaneous revenue do you get from?
Miscellaneous revenue?
$100,000.
The $100,000 is capital contributions that are, we request Spectra.
So does your team set up the fence, the perimeter for entrance into the marketplace?
No.
They do that, all that internally?
They do that, they have staff, but there's times where, they may need spider boxes. When they were much larger, we supported a lot more on their operational side. We bring out spider boxes, help them set up electrical, forklift, a lot of forklifting, we would help them with.
What's a spider box?
Spider boxes, sorry,
A
is
sweater
the
box?
electrical.
I know what you're saying.
A lot of spiders in it. Is an electrical distribution box that you'll see. A lot of ours are yellow, but they're on little black legs, and you can plug extension cords into them. Yeah. Spider because they have all the cords that come off of them.
I'm with you now, I
Yeah.
dig it.
Okay. And then that's just a monthly rental fee, is our revenue with them. Department 20, any questions on that?
I have one more question. I spent a couple hours at the marketplace this weekend, and I was wondering, do we have it in our contract about what the perimeter of their space needs to look like?
Yes.
Okay, I just thought it was very blocked off. So if you're coming from the Heroes Hall or coming from the event, you can't really see what's going on inside of it, or really that it's there. I was really surprised. So is that part that we contract with them, that they have to put up almost
No.
like visual shields, or have they just done that?
No, what I meant by yes is we expect them to keep their unused product and/or stored product confined and clean. Stuff that's not being used consistently shouldn't be here. Stuff that's never used shouldn't be here. So we try to make sure that they're in compliance with that, because we don't want to be a junkyard, but we also don't want to inhibit them in being able to be productive and have stuff on site and not have to off-site and bringing it over every weekend.
And I'm assuming they lock it Saturday night, so
extremely early
they
in
don't
the
have to
morning.
set up everything twice.
Well, they pick up every night.
Oh.
That's how we can sweep it. then they reset it. They're coming in early, they're like 4 o'clock in the morning early. Next. Maintenance operations, this is Department 20. We are a zero revenue department. Our labor,
Worth every penny.
I'm sorry, I missed a slide, so I'll just read that. So our major focus would be to provide excellent customer service. Our customers are the OC Fair Events employees, as well as promoters and the patrons that come to the events. While we're providing that service, we're also maintaining the grounds and the buildings. The operational department also, for maintenance, also provides project development and project management of all capital remodels, any work on grounds. The major department responsibilities, building maintenance and repairs, facility grounds maintenance and repairs, manage and monitor building public safety compliance, and provide, again, project management for construction remodel projects and capital budget. Our labor is $2,502,000. We have 20 full-time civil service employees. We have 36 seasonal staff. 36 seems like a lot, but when you're only getting 6 months at them, it's really 18 on a consistent basis. So we're right around that area right there. Our rates we don't pay minimum wage. Our lowest rate is $15.25. We're unable to hire skilled labor and or even maintenance or any service type of worker at the minimum wages. We're just getting beat out by even, Home Depots and Lowe's and anywhere that is paying more. So our minimum payment in our department is $15.25. So that hasn't made an increase for us this year. Our non-labor is $845,330. Equipment maintenance, it's a heavy lift. We have a lot of equipment, and we have one mechanic, and he does a great job taking care of everything, but we do have that cost. Our landscaping is, that's just the perimeter of our facility. We contract that out. We keep our team working on the interior and let outside contractor take care of that. This is a monthly rate for $5,400 or $300 a month. That's tree care, mowing, weeding, keeping the outside perimeters, cutting the bougainvillea along the drives out there. And the bigger bucket is facility safety. As we've increased our focus on safety, we're also bringing in more costs. So that's moved up a bit. You'll see we have in 5100 professional services. Our professional services for us are contracted partnerships. So it's not like just having somebody come out and do one job. It is usually, so like weeding the berm. We have a guy come out quarterly, he weeds the berm. Fire marshal, he's a professional service, so that's in that cost. Hydrant testing, that's in that cost. Fire sprinkler testing, that's in this professional service cost. Tree care, tree trimming, and all that is in our professional. So, that is maintenance operations. Is there any questions? Do you guys want to go through the spreadsheet?
When we decide to restripe the parking lot to pick up some extra spots,
Yes.
where is that?
That comes in our capital, and I'll discuss that. We actually just got done with a parking lot study for kind of 2.5, 3 interior parking lots. When I talk about interior and exterior, when we're talking asphalt, we're talking about interiors inside the green fence, and which is more usable operating space for an event. Outside, exterior is true parking lots on the perimeter of the green fence on the inside. Any questions? No? Department 22, facility operations. The major function of this department is to support operational administratively. So, that's
I'm sorry, which one are you on?
22. So the major responsibilities in that department is recording and helping to oversee utilities from water, power, electrical, water, sewer, those type of utilities. We have administration help for the Centennial Farm operations, the event operations department, and for the maintenance operations team. So, and that would be with time cards, helping out with any staff requirements, any help, it's a lot going on in the administrative part. So I'll just leave it at that. With the administration part of 3 departments, Fran is 1 employee. She helps to oversee all that for the supervisors, kind of their right-hand woman. Okay, she also, her department also oversees shipping and receiving, fair time staff support as well. They run the office for all maintenance tasks coming in and out. They distribute the tasks to the electricians, the plumbers, the maintenance guys that are running their circles around. And she's a major contributor to the Spirit Committee. Go, Fran.
I'm just going to take 30 seconds to tell you what the Spirit Committee
Okay.
is all
What's the
about.
Spirit
Yes. So as state employees, we, for us to use state funds to have employee celebrations, for example, is a gift of public funds. And so we, many years ago, formed a Spirit Committee that does fundraising activities throughout the year. And so that when we have a holiday party, for example, there are funds to be able to pay for that.
So we do lunches,
Yeah.
$5 lunches, and the $5 will cover, the, say, hamburgers and hot dogs, and then whatever's left over goes to the Spirit Committee.
You should hit up some board members for the Spirit.
Yes. All right.
Thane?
will.
Did you have Thane oversees the Spirit Committee, I believe, still?
Yeah, Thane, Love is on the Spirit
Love is on,
Committee,
okay.
Summer's on the Spirit Committee, so,
Sorry.
Ashley wants to chair that committee.
yeah.
Look over at you.
Come on.
We got spirit.
Yeah,
Yes, we do. We got spirit. How about you?
So the revenue in that department is strictly recycled product. We recycle cardboard and plastics, we recycle our cooking grease that gets turned into biofuel. For years, we were just having somebody come and collect it. We were presented an opportunity to have somebody come and buy it, so he now we sell it to him, and they do the pickup, they do the pumping, and they haul it and biofuel it and take away. We have glass. This year, we're gonna have a real strong push on organic waste. That's part of our state requirements that we're working on, and so you'll see that for real strong presence during the fair, but it will continue just all year round with all our grounds events. We've partnered up with our waste hauler, and that was part of their contract this year, or that going forward, was to help us develop this program and how they would be able to help service it. E-waste, paper, aluminum, pellets, and copper wire. There's probably more. I just only wrote down some of the stuff that we would get. That revenue goes up and down every year, of course, depending on what gets recycled. I think last year we were at $12,000. This year we're looking at consistent of maybe 8. Our labor in that consists of myself and Fran, civil service, and she has 4 staff that work with her throughout the year. Did I go through non-labor? Non-labor is $1,323,445.
Doing great.
Slow down.
You're doing great.
All right. You can see a substantial amount of that is electrical. every year, you know, during fair time. We're asking vendors to look better, be brighter, and they're doing it. And we're doing everything we can to support that. And then we have the water. We've done real well with that by reducing our water usage, so we're doing very well on that. Trash removal. This is just general trash removal. You'll see trash removal in a couple other budgets, but this is general trash removal that the facilities creates. So it would be our own landscaping, it would be construction debris, it would be general janitorial trash, like when we clean, you know, we fill 40-yard containers, and that doesn't get charged to an event, it gets charged to us. And that's where that comes in. We have sewer assessments and then pest control. We did increase that a bit this year because we're including Heroes Hall as a new building that's come on grounds that we've come to see that we need to service, and a couple other structures that we're looking at. Questions on 20?
You mentioned Heroes Hall, so does that include the equestrian center as well?
On the pest control?
Yeah, and
No.
surfacing, no, okay.
So our contract says that the maintenance people, well, the Rick Hansen people, they do
Yes.
all of that.
Yes.
Anything that needs to be upgraded, maintained on that property goes through our contract.
It's supposed to.
But since
Yeah.
it's month to month, it'd be good to look at the contract and
Yeah.
also revisit what that would be.
The finance chair could recommend that to the board chair.
So, moving on to Department 25, the Equestrian Center. My major function, and I do manage the Equestrian Center contract and manage the needs and the requests of their Equestrian Center. So it's to provide maintenance and support to the facility. Hopefully, we've been doing much better in communicating and getting our stuff done, and thank you. It was a good team effort. Thank you guys for your help, too. Our major responsibilities is to oversee the budget, of course, provide maintenance support, communicate to the staff and the patrons when maintenance is being done. And I think that's where we're getting the most accolades, is just letting them know that we're gonna be over there, letting them know the activities that are happening over there. You know, having been around horses for a long time myself, there are things that startle the horses that even I forget, you know. I was over there one day with the tape measure, and I just recoiled it back, and it spooked the horse. And having ridden for a long time, I didn't even think of those kinds of things. So as our team goes over there, we do a little debriefing on the kinds of things that are necessary while they're over there, how to interact, don't interact, or how to address driving your cars working. So we do try to make sure that we're not.
Safety first.
Yeah, safety first. Safety first. The revenue over there was $177,950. There's no labor. The non-labor costs that were asked before is $50,200. That is utilities. Anytime that we do maintenance work over there, I do bill that account so that I can keep track. We still pay it, but at least I have a bucket, like your bucket. I have a bucket that I can see what we're actually spending in that area, and not just coming out of our operational 20 budget.
So how does Rick get billed for that? And when do we do that?
We haven't. I haven't.
Because we need to review the contract.
Yeah. That would help.
I think we looked at it last year or something like that,
Not
right?
in depth.
Yeah, I think there was a lot of discussion about it, and then sort of tabled in the greater master site plan
Kinda pushed
discussion.
everything on the
Yeah,
side.
but we can certainly revisit that and update new board members too.
I think we did, when we reviewed the fire system and everything like that.
Yeah.
They actually outlined
Well,
the
that's because we
contract.
went in and upgraded the fire system
Right.
because we determined it
Yeah,
was
but the actual full
1906 or
contract was.
something. And so we went in, we paid for that, but we haven't heard the report back how much it cost and
Right.
when.
Oh, that's what
it
you're
gets-
talking
and
about.
when
I
it
thought you
gets
were talking about the
billed
actual-
and all of
right.
that, we haven't had that discussion. Well, we need to have that discussion, but it's a broader discussion about the contract.
Yeah, agree.
Next department. Department 28, Centennial Farm Operations. This department is committed to providing agricultural and livestock education to our community. The knowledgeable farmers are responsible for planting and harvesting fruit, grains, and vegetables that are grown during the 4 seasons. In addition, our farmers are accountable to providing animal welfare and breeding. We just had a calf 2 days ago, yesterday maybe?
Holstein calf, 2 days ago.
Yeah, the budget's kind of wiped out my days here, but I think it was 2 days ago for a very beautiful little calf. You know, every year we have the piglets that come up and we breed right here in-house.
Those pigs, they know the food.
Yeah. Major department responsibilities, plant and harvest vegetables and fruits throughout the year. Production and proper care of the animals in the farm, and highlight California's agriculture in our community. That's our guys' goals over there. We are no revenue. Our labor is $575,000, $883. That's 5 civil service full-time and 5 seasonal staff. The non-labor is $75,200. And of course, most of that's farm supplies, animal care, vets, some of that public, or buildings and grounds. This year, buildings and grounds went up because we need to replace the roofs. I don't know if you've been over there. We replaced the structural support membranes of all the pins with the nice galvanized steel pins, but the roof sheeting needs to be replaced. We didn't do that at that time, so we increased this by $7,000 to do that work.
I should add too that the educational component of Centennial Farm that involves the school tours, the exhibits during fair are in Joan's department, so she'll be speaking to that part of Centennial Farm. This is strictly the operations of the farm.
Yeah. Department 33. Event operations. Event operations provides labor support for all events in-house and outside promoted events. We provide setup, breakdown of events. We do the electrical layout, the plumbing, set up tents, banner installation, put out bleachers, chairs, anything that we are requested of the promoter, we provide. And we even help with helping rental pickup and set up if the guys need help when they show up and they're running behind, our guys will just jump out there and help them. Major department responsibilities, again, is set up and tear down the weekly events, support the event sales team and the event coordinators. I think we have a pretty good relationship, this department, with the sales team, or the event sales and coordinators, and they're usually working right hand in hand with making sure the event gets set up as what the promoter expected, and then the events guys are working with them. So this department also has outside contractors like CCS, the janitorial cleaning services. They schedule that. They schedule LWI for cleaning services after the events, come and sweep, pick up trash, haul trash. So he has responsibility of, this is Ray, he has responsibilities of overseeing outside contractors as well. And also, in those services, we recap that to all the events. So although we don't have revenue, we kind of do somewhere. We're getting that recap somewhere.
Support
Right,
departments are
Howard?
just as important.
We're getting that recap somewhere. The labor for event operations is $1,149,000. They have 10 full-time civil service employees, 13 seasonal employees, The non-labor is $559,600. Again, these, like I talked to you about the professional services, so that's trash pickup, that's cleaning, restroom cleaning year-round, pressure washing. We wash the main mall 4 times a year, every quarter. It's get a nice deep clean because it gets stained a lot with all the events rolling through. Even just tire and foot traffic gets it all messed up, so we clean that. We have another line that's professional service specific, and it's to install banners for fair time banners, fair setup and tear down, and that includes the cleaning.
They have all the fun jobs in
They
that
have all the fun.
department.
Department 63. This is fair operations. This is the department that I was talking to you, Barbara, about. This is our maintenance, seasonal staff get put into this department for labor. And then our other costs that come, like renting equipment during fair. But so the department provides fair time support. It includes staff, equipment, fair materials needed, and related repairs. So if there's asphalt blowouts, which we always have, we've been chasing the asphalt from the bus when they come through the weight and the heat of the tires are tearing up the asphalt. Every year we fix a section over there. That would get put into this. So the major responsibilities is to provide staff for day shifts, swing shift, and graveyard shifts. And under the day shift is just a small recap of what these guys and these men and women do, or kiddos, some of them, do during one shift. Graveyard shift is changed. The swing and the day shift and swing shift are pretty consistent because they're still fair related. Graveyard shift is more building cleaning. Once everything's shut down, they're going in the buildings, they're sweeping out the insides of the buildings, they're coming through here. There's picking up trash that's put out to the edge of the curb. They're taking all the trash, they're compacting it in our compactors. They're breaking down cardboard boxes and baling, and it's much more, it's quieter, but it's like little mice running around, taking care of everything behind the scene. We also are responsible in fair operations for the shipping and receiving. We bring in almost all shipping and receiving that vendors are asking for. So if we have people in the Costa Mesa building, the concessionaires, or who are they inside there again? Merchants, thank you. The merchants, when they're asking for more pillows, that all comes to our office, and then we notify them, or they already know it's coming and they'll come pick it up. So we have a receiving distribution center over there in our area. We also manage the professional services, again, which would be trash, recycling, and janitorial costs. This year, organic waste. That's my goal this year is big push. Fair operations is, the labor is $543,775. We have 80 maintenance seasonal employees. I reduced that, 13 employees this year. We had 93 last year. We have 13 seasonal employees for the event operations, and we have 3 in the livestock. They all fall under the operations. This is fair operations labor. Our non-labor is $1,632,200. Again, that's fair time specific janitorial costs. That's also paper products, which you'll see in a line item like 5338 on the spreadsheet. That's soaps, that's toiletries, so I just rolled it all up into one in janitorial. That's why it's 605. We have other big buckets are sweeping, pressure washing, trash pickup. Those are contracted stuff in this bucket here. So sweeping is contracted with LWI, pressure washing, trash pickup, all that's contracted. Equipment rental and gas and fuel.
I'm just curious, the October, November equipment rental after fair,
Yes.
what's going on in October, November? Related to fair.
Related to fair?
Yeah, then this is fair maintenance, right?
It's fair maintenance, but it takes us about a month and a half to clear out. So it takes us a week to get everything off the eyes of everyone, so we can run the gun show and the next show's coming through. We still have a lot of stuff, back of house needs to be moved around. We got forklift operations, we've got boom lift needs, so we still have operations. But,
That's it?
I don't have any, expense in September, October for rental in 63, if you look at this spreadsheet. I'm looking, does yours say different?
25, October, November. It's okay, I'm okay with it.
Look at it,
It takes
okay,
time to
that's what it would
step
be,
off.
but,
I
I can,
was just curious, because everything else cut off except for that one.
yeah,
Okay, no problem, it's only $5,000, I'm okay.
It's 2,500 a month in October and November. So it's 8:43. We're actually more than halfway because around the table there are fewer departments to review. But do you want to do give our transcriber a break?
Yeah,
or
we should do like maybe
everybody a quick 5-minute?
5-minute break.
Okay.
I think we can reconvene now.
Push it through.
Oh.
You got it. Wiggle your way through it. Okay, Jason, you're on.
Okay, Jason Jacobson, Director of Technology and Production. My presentation is twice as long as Jerry's, so.
We will give you
Please,
half as
please,
much
no.
time. We don't want the new stuff, just the
Right.
hits.
So, I'm gonna be going over my, 3 departments. Technology and Production Department has 3 main focuses, technology and
Budget number?
production.
budget number?
Oh, sorry. I didn't get there yet, hang on. So just a quick overview. Technology supports year-round events, OC Fair,
Budget 8.
Budget aid, sorry. And, day-to-day, business for staff. Let me move to that next slide. Okay. So, Department 8, major responsibilities for technology. The team maintains all the networks, which we have about 10 different ones. Tech support for all the staff on grounds, full-time staff. All the, manage and support a lot of the, software as a service, accounting software, different tools like that we have in-house. The tech team also supports year-round events, for audio needs, internet sales, different things like that. Also manage tech, capital projects, management coordination with that. Manage all the AV needs, for board meetings and year-round activities. Manage all the communication equipment and services, so telephone, cell phones, radios, year-round and for fair. And then the team kind of manages all that equipment, inventories all of it, along with all the business machines, so copiers, printers, everything. Okay, so production, which is, Department 19. That is mainly fair, it's fair rental for audio, staging, lighting, trussing, video, pyro, the main mall show creation comes out of that. A lot of the vendor contractor coordination and the sound monitoring comes out of that for year-round, for fair and year-round. I don't have any specific fair-related, department accounts, so they kind of all roll up into year-round activity. And then planning and presentation, which is Department 9. That is our kind of fair logistics support group. We do event layout creation, fair equipment rental tracking, rental equipment contract management, rental vendor coordination, fair planning and tracking, year-round event support, property mapping for utilities and stuff. We work with Jerry and the maintenance team. We support our year-round, our internal events. We do concept drawings, banners, signage, wayfinding signage, property electronic signage, property signage, and special projects. So the total roll-up for labor on these three departments, we have no revenue. That revenue actually goes into Howard's department for year-round events, for building PA systems and different equipment rental like that, that we help support. Labor total roll-up is $763,885. That includes 5 civil service employees, myself in that, 1 tech supervisor, 2 full-time techs, and a full-time projects and planning liaison who does all of our in-house CAD drawings. And then we have 1 full-time logistics coordinator that helps actually Jerry and I kind of share that person with different duties and responsibilities. So non-labor roll-up is $1,736,790. The bulk of that is equipment rental, which a lot of that is all the production side, trussing, lighting, staging at about $315,000. Hangar, heritage stage, ASA audio at about $255,000. Ground sound at another $116,000. Grounds video at $195,000. Professional services too, I think the biggest one out of that is sound monitoring for year-round events. That's about $187,000 rolled up. Phone is another big expense of the non-labor. It's $123,000.
And who is that phone provider?
That, AT&T for POTS lines and Verizon for cell service. So that includes both cell service and regular office lines across grounds.
That's a good deal.
What's that?
That's a good deal.
Yeah. Good.
So they provide, okay.
No, it is good. I think one of the challenges over the years, we've looked at improving some of the phone system in-house because there's, voice over IP and there's a lot of better technology now. Part of the challenge for us is there's 3 main trunk lines that are coming in on grounds on the north side of the property. So we don't have kind of a singular location where they all kind of route that we could intercept and then kind of go from there. Because part of the 10 networks that we're managing on grounds, we have, over the years, really invested a lot in infrastructure with fiber all over the place. So all of our networks are running over fiber optic. When RCS comes in for the carnival, they're running over our fiber to connect both the carnivals. We've actually just, the last few years, put Spectra over our network too, since they have new POS systems and they've kind of expanded what they're doing on grounds. I think phone is one that I would like to see us do different in the future because we're kind of on a really older system that's part of the state, under a state contract. But anyways, we can talk about that. And then digital radios is another bigger cost, total of about $68,000 for year-round. We have about 160 radios that the staff uses for year-round, and then we bring in close to 700 radios just for fair time. So we used to own our own system, but it's been better and more stable to go with a rental option. So that's pretty much it. Questions?
So
the way to roll up 3 departments. Good job.
All right, Dan? No.
I'm Jeff Wilson, Entertainment Supervisor, and obviously my boss is Dan Gaines, the Entertainment Director. I'll be covering the Entertainment Department budgets, which include, well, the Entertainment Department, easy way to describe, we book all the entertainment for the fair, including Pacific Amphitheater, which is Department 34 and 72. The fair proper, which is Department 70, as well as the box office, which is Department 48. So, Department 34 is a pack camp department that is fairs outside of the, or shows outside of the fair. So, pre and post fair shows. And then 72 is specifically the 23 days of fair.
Sorry, so 34 was the outside?
Yes, yes. And then 70 is grounds entertainment, the arena, the hangar, small stages such as, well, Meadows, Heritage, Plaza, as well as clowns. So whenever anyone asks me what I do for a living, I say I literally work with clowns. And then I talk about people other than Jason. But, so that's our major responsibilities. We also do the contracting for all entertainment contracting in conjunction with Kelly's department. Revenue, regarding departments 34 and 72, which is Pacific Amphitheater, we have 9.3 in ticket sales and 1.4 in ancillary. And then hangar and ASA, which is Department 70, is 1.1 for hangar and ASA ticket sales and 250,000 for hangar and ASA ancillary.
What's ancillary income?
Concessions, merchandise. And then labor. The 4 budgets have, we have 4 civil service employees, one of which is a part-timer. And then we have 6 year-round, 119 employees, which are primarily box office staff. And then during fair and leading up to fair, we have 58 approximately part-time seasonal employees, including 10 costume characters. That's another part of our job. So if you see the foodies walking around, those are ours. Non-labor expenses, $9 million, which includes $5.1 million for headline entertainment, which is Pacific Amphitheater 34 and 70. $650,000 for the hangar and ASA combined. $500,000 for grounds, which is once again clowns, hypnotists, stilt walkers, and then professional services, which includes things such as Pacific Amphitheater production, sound, video, lighting, ASA and hangar production, as well as union labor at Pacific Amphitheater is 1.8 million. And I think I beat Jason, unless you have questions.
All right. Still awake over here?
Absolutely.
Yes? Okay. Nick, you're on. You are.
Good evening. Can you guys hear me okay? Is the microphone working all right?
Yes.
My name's Nick Booth. I'm the Director of Security and Traffic here. I'm fortunate enough to oversee 5 very good work groups. First one is budget number 23, which is our year-round security department. This is everything non-fair. Revenue zeros, a little bit inaccurate. Our amasser of revenue over there, Howard, will take credit for that revenue, but probably about 2/3 of the labor expense of this department are recouped through events. So this is the security that we provide to commercial event promoters, other event-based promoters on our property. It also includes our full-time permanent civil service wages, 6 full-timers, 2 194s, and we roughly have about 80 119-day or seasonals throughout the year that we use for 24/7 property security, event security, which is a pass-through cost to a promoter, and then as well in-house and self-produced events outside of fair, being Imaginology or per se a board meeting when we need a few extra security guards, those type of things in-house. As far as non-labor expenses, we have a limited amount of professional services. Orange County Sheriff's Department, just a minimal fund for investigations and miscellaneous non-event related law enforcement needs we might have. as well as our July 4th concert staffing. That is a pass-through cost as well to the PAC Symphony. Unfortunately, we need about 82 people on the 4th of July, and we got about 6.5 to sign up, so we had to reach out to a contractor. So, as well, generic supplies, equipment. That budget also includes training, first aid for the entire staff, CPR, guard card training, annual emergency preparedness, you name it, that all comes out of this department as well. A big chunk of the expenditures, non-labor there, are uniforms. Again, that's year-round security, kind of all the facilitators of all the departments that we oversee. Any questions on that one before we move forward? Okay. The next one is 32, which is parking, not to be confused with parking sales. Love Hertel's team over there. As she mentioned earlier, the parking team supports the parking sales team, and their main objective essentially is equipment set up and tear down cones, signs, reader boards, light towers that the sales team might need. All those good things we need to put on these events in the parking area. It also includes the seasonal wages for the parking staff members that are out there, the seasonal staff members that are directing cars, working with Love Team, opening and closing gates, and what have you, moving stuff around as needed. It includes 2 permanent civil service employees in that department. The rest are seasonals, and just to give you an idea, about 45 seasonals. Again, like I say, light towers, cones, signs, K-rail, which is a huge one, forklifting, directional assistance, sales assistance, and for the sales team, and reader board placement. Any questions about year-round parking team? All right. We'll move on to 51, which is parking.
Could you just go back on the non-labor?
Yes, sir.
You skipped over the non-labor.
Ah, there you go. Good job. I'm trying to go fast. Yeah, non-labor expense, professional services, majority of that non-labor expense is equipment rental in that department, as you can see by your numbers, and that's mostly light towers and reader boards. Doing everything we can to try and improve traffic flow and customer direction assistance, getting in and out of here, our big property. Most of that is equipment rental. We have a limited amount of professional services for vehicle relocation and towing, generic equipment maintenance and supplies, and then a generic uniform budget as well. All right. 51, which is the next, which is the same type of department, but this is for fare only. Again, and I failed to say with budget 32, there is revenue that comes out of there. We get reimbursed from some of our commercial promoters, but again, it isn't identified here. Howard will speak to that a little bit, but parking fare, we don't get reimbursed for. That's our self-produced event. There is truly no revenue there. Labor expense, this is all the seasonal staff that come in to help out with our parking department, which is upwards of 150 people. Parking sales support, fare setup and breakdown, again, like I say, signs, cones, K-rails, what have you. And these are all on-site, off-site locations. We have about 5 off-site locations as well as on-site, and this is as well on dark days. We have some events here, San Diego Chargers parking, what have you, that this team assists with as well. They also facilitate the shuttle, the Orange County Transit Authority, and the Experience Shuttle program on the east end of the property. So on the weekends when those buses are coming, they're the ones who coordinate all that activity. The non-labor expense in that department, probably the biggest portion of that is the Costa Mesa PD services, which we were very happy. They came in 22,000 under our anticipated amount this year, so that's very exciting. They help try and control the traffic out in the street. It is a very high rate. It goes anywhere from about $130 an hour to $262 an hour. They, as you guys remember, last year they implemented new rates on us, a full cost recovery system, and it's extremely expensive. That's the bulk of that. The shuttle costs as well to off-site lots, Orange Coast College, Experian, all the various shuttles we run. It's the bulk of the professional services. Equipment, maintenance, supplies in this department is fairly generic. Equipment rental is a pretty big bill in this department for fair time. A lot of reader boards, tents, signs, because every location we have to set up, OCC, off-site lots, Davis lot, you name it. It has a lot of stuff that goes with it. So the equipment rental is pretty significant. Uniforms as well, fair time uniforms due to the size of the crew, which is about 150 people. And we don't know the size and age of every person we're going to hire. We have to buy a significant amount of uniforms each year. Any questions on fare?
Costa Mesa PD
Yes,
is responsible for traffic flow.
yes, ma'am.
Hey,
Traffic
that
flow.
much money, we need some good traffic.
Absolutely. Yeah, that's a big bill, and they provide all the traffic coordination off-site, and then if we have any law enforcement issues that arise on-site, and then they kind of mosey on off-site, they help us with that as well, depending on the workload of the sheriffs at the time. So they do assist in a law enforcement capacity, but most of Costa Mesa's responsibility is traffic control during the fair.
I thought maybe we weren't paying them, so I have a different view now.
Any questions on fair parking? 52 is the same type of department, but it's specifically security for fair. No revenue, again, self-produced event. Labor there, which is mostly comprised of, actually entirely comprised of seasonal labor, that's about 400 plus people. So this is just fair. This is for the better part of 2 months. It's 24/7 security. It includes a whole bunch of teams I'll list off real quick, but it's our command staff, fixed post staff, mobile teams, which are carts and bicycles, alcohol compliance team, which we get reimbursed for through our alcohol vendors. We have plainclothes detail, we have response teams, bank and sensitive area protection. It's a portion of the gates, which I'll speak to in a minute. We have investigators, dispatchers, logistics personnel, surveillance operations personnel, special deployment team, which are kind of the daily things that pop up, like parades, extra concert help when we have a big gangbusters concert, or a VIP escort. We get a bunch of celebrities who want some escorts around the fair. The special deployment team will tackle those things. It also includes our staffing, our usher and front of house staffing for the Action Sports Arena and the hangar, as well as the Pacific Amphitheater back of house team. That's the behind the scenes team that we created a few years ago that you see in the gray shirts in Pacific Amphitheater. They work over 3 months securing that venue 24/7 from probably a week prior to the concert series all the way through September. So the pack amp, which I'll speak to in a minute, front of house, the ushers, the ones that the customers interact with, that's in a different budget. But our back of house security team comes out of this same budget. Again, like I say, about 400 plus people. Big portion of the 52 budget is professional services. 3 main categories. One of them is ride safety inspection. One of the most important things, we pay for an independent third-party ride safety inspector. So no one can point a finger at a carnival and say you opened a ride to make more money. And no one can point a finger at us and say you opened a ride to make more money. This person is the be-all, end-all as far as when that ride opens and closes after any kind of technical issue. But our ride safety inspection services account for a big portion of that. EMS, which is first aid, our on-site first aid team, as well. The biggest portion of that professional services contract is our gate security services. I know this was mentioned at the previous board meeting. Just to enlighten everybody on that, we have no intent of contracting out security for the fair. We wish we didn't have to. Personally, I think it's way too intricate of a business and an operation to hand over to a contractor. However, due to low unemployment percentages and the fact that we need about 150 extra people to run our gates, we've had no choice but to reach out to an outside contractor. So I remember you guys mentioned in the board meeting that you guys had some interest in discussing further that contract that you were asked to approve. That's what it's for. Now, again, going forward for this year, we hope, cross our fingers, that we'll be able to obtain those extra 150 people and bring them in-house, which is much more beneficial. You have continuity of the same people. You can contour your training. You can keep a much closer eye than you can on a contractor. With a contractor, as you know, you get different people every day. You lose some of that experience, and these staffing companies are not quite up to the par that we would expect from our internal employees. But again, unless we have some major change in the employment levels right now or unemployment levels, we expect the same this year, which is why we included this again in our budget. We actually had a good saving last year. We took a portion of the gates in-house again. It was very difficult because we didn't have enough people to quite do it, but we did, and it generated quite a bit of savings. We took only the pack amp gates in-house and left the major fair gates to the contractor, but the net savings in doing that alone was about $44,384. It cost us $131 to do it in-house, but that was a difference of $175.9 with a contractor. So again, we saved almost $45,000, had a better experience, the same people night after night that knew what they were doing. Always better to do it in-house, in my opinion. Again, like I see though, if we don't get the employees, then we do have to reach out to a contract provider, and that's why we always have this in there. We plan for this.
Go ahead. Can we have a little bit of discussion on that, because it was on the consent calendar. We pulled it from the consent calendar, but we can't sit in limbo forever. So at some point in time, need to have the contractor under contract, whether we employ them or not. That decision can be made later, but there would be a need to get that back on the consent calendar. Under the guise that we'll try our best to bring it in-house, but we've got to have that insurance backup, because one thing we can't have is no mags, no security at our gates. So that's where we are.
And so the drop dead time we need to do that is when? Next board meeting, or we have a couple of board meetings? When do we need to bring that back? Or our chair can tell our board chair.
So we don't run into an issue. I would suggest that at least, January, February. If we get beyond that, it'll be pretty difficult. Then we would have to put it out to bid again. It's better to have it in place and cross your fingers not have to use it. But if we don't have it in place, it's a lot more effort and work going back the other way.
So we had it, but we tabled it?
We tabled it
Yeah,
because
and
we
it-
wanted them to explore
Table the
internal.
extension.
Internal options.
I lost my thought.
I'm sorry.
But, no, but if we can have, I think if you can give us what you just said
Yeah,
at a
one
board
pager,
meeting, it'll
yeah.
be a better conversation among the board
Yes.
members. But if there's also a plan in place, like what would that recruitment plan look like for bringing people in-house, and when would that start? So that we can see that there is a good faith effort to try and do outreach to bring somebody in permanently. I think that would be helpful as well, because even if we don't meet the entire amount, at least we are making an effort towards it.
I think what might make the most sense is between Nick and Bianca, we have the security plan and the recruitment plan, bring it back by the December meeting. That way everybody's comfortable with the plan, have and it's not a new RFP, it's just an extension of the existing one, so it's just the next year's amendment, have it on the consent calendar, and have it all wrapped up for the December meeting, if that's.
It sounds appropriate. We can definitely talk about it with the new board chair. Yeah.
Great, thank you.
And to elaborate on that a little bit more, it is, if you will, a security blanket that we need in place if we fail to get our own people in-house, enough people in-house to fill that team. A big portion of this contract as well is the Orange County Sheriff's Department for law enforcement services for the fair. Just to give a quick background, I know we're moving fast, but so people understand this, most people when they see the dollar amount, they flinch and they say, wow, that's a whole lot of money. Well, if you understand what we get for that, it's unbelievable. About 30% of that deployment, those people out there are reserve officers, which we don't pay for. So we get about 30% extra officers without paying for them. We get Samantha, the command post, the Lost Children's booth, which costs us nothing, that whole function. So all the explorers, cadets, and the Sheriff's Auxiliary Council personnel run that for us. We get bomb techs included in that, canine sweeps of PAC Amp nightly. We have our undercover team. We have 2 undercover sex crime personnel in the Kitty Carnival and the main carnival every single day. That includes what's called DPI, Diplomatic Protection and Investigations, which is a whole nother level. We have gang teams out here on various nights, but we get all sorts of support out of this, and it's a lot more bang for your buck. The fortunate part for us is that we have an awesome sheriff's department. The unfortunate part for us is that if we didn't have an awesome sheriff's department, we'd be in a real bind. There are no other agencies that can do what they do. They don't have enough people. By default, we should go to CHP. CHP aren't, I don't mean this as an insult, they're not truly policemen. It's a different job than a patrolman, what we need here, and they don't have the people. The next default is Costa Mesa PD, which is about as good a department as you get. However, they don't have enough people to even field their own city. And we need to fill about 1,100 shifts throughout 23 days. Sheriff's Department are the only ones who can do it. Luckily for us, they're fantastic at it, so.
It's the only budget item that when I look at it, I go, wow, but they're worth their weight in gold.
They are.
We have one of the safest fairs around, and it costs.
And they are
It's the
one of the
traffic.
best rates in the law enforcement business. County charter with them prohibits them from generating revenue. So they have kind of bare bones, I don't even know if it's cost recovery, but it's bare bones rate. That's much more competitive than any other municipal or any other agency we could reach out to. So it's very beneficial to us, that relationship with that department. A lot of the other stuff in that department's pretty generic: equipment, supplies. Any other questions you guys have about fair security as a whole? The last department that our team is involved with is number 74, which is the Pacific Amphitheater front of house team. And now those are all the usher security team that interacts with the ticket holders or the guests there. Very simple, almost entirely labor-driven budget. No revenue, obviously. These are our in-house concerts. Labor expense, again, those are for concert gate security, stage sensitive area, seating ushers. Fluctuates each year a little bit based on how many concerts we have, really. Each year we have a couple more, a couple less, depending on the scheduling, but not a lot of mystery in that one. Very basic cost for supplies and equipment rental there, almost purely all labor. Any other questions? Any? Awesome, thank you.
All right, I am Terry Moore. I'm the Communications Director, and I have two small but mighty departments I'll be talking about today. Communications is number 18, and guest experience is number 47. So the communications team, we work to get the word out about what's going on here, and that's everything from the OC Fair to concert on-sale announcements to Imaginology, Salute to Veterans, all of our year-round events as well. We get a press release and a newsletter out on all the events, and then we have special obligations for some of the larger top-tier events. So the work that we do is all earned or content that we create. Ruby's lucky enough to get to buy the fancy stuff, so we have to work hard to get our word out. We work with the media, we work with the Equestrian Center. We have 3 websites, and we take care of the content for those websites. We also handle social media and all the customer service on the social media. We have 13 accounts over 5 platforms. And we also handle videography and photography. We either do it internally or we handle professional contracting. And we also do internal communications, which I failed to note on here. So that's the monthly email newsletter we send out to our employees. Again, the communication with the equestrians and any announcements and things that we need to get the word out around here. So we support our teams also by using virtual training. And so there's a little bit of expense in there, and so we can share it among guest services and the different folks that we have in communications, and it's a lot of electronic training, so we think we get a lot of bang out of the buck for that. So we don't generate revenue, but again, I think we do generate value, especially our earned media value. We have mainly labor expenses. We just have 2 civil service employees, that's Roxanne and myself, and 1 part-time person who comes in and helps us with proofing and website. He's a web expert, things like that. And then we bring in part-time seasonal employees during the fair because we have a lot of work to do. That's our super busy crunch time. That's the 4 a.m. to midnight days. The non-labor expenses are mainly media and professional services, media monitoring, social listening, web analytics, special web sections that we might need to have a little bit of development money for, that kind of thing, survey tools. And we have costs included too for like boosted social posts and additional social contesting. And say a pack amp show was running a little slow, we'll do something special during the run of the fair and get the word out on that with social media ads too. And then we buy promo material that we share with other departments and that we hand out to the public. Anything on 18?
So your web services are different than technology. What's that?
Yes, like for example, we just are working on a refresh of the OJ, which is our internal website, and we needed some work on that. It was kind of a little special project, so we budgeted some extra money for that. But Jason takes the big technology things like the servers and the monthly expenses for the web developer. This is just budgeting for some special projects, things like enhancing the calendar tool so we don't have to do a different app, that we could use our website in the mobile-friendly versions, little things like that.
What about the pig cam?
The pig cam, oh my gosh.
What budget,
That's in Jerry's
what is
budget.
that allocated for?
That's Jerry's budget over at the farm, right? Or Jason, do you have the pig cam?
It's paid for. Do we need another one?
Ooh, cap cam.
The next is 47, which is guest experience, and Thane Holman is our guest experience supervisor. He's responsible for all of the information booths, neighborhood ambassadors, the call center, the reception desk, and then he does the really awesome community programs such as Friends of the Fair and OC Fair Kids Club. And year-round, Thane is our 1 civil service employee, and we have 3 year-round part-time folks, and they're the receptionist staff. We bring in a lot more people, obviously, for this department during fair. We bring in 62 part-time seasonal employees, and we have a few non-labor expenses here. Some of them are professional services and equipment rental like carts and changing tables and the office trailer. And we also have things like buses for the OC Fair Kids Club. And that's 47. Okay. Good evening, my name's Ruby Lau, I'm the Director of Marketing. I'm going to take you through Department 15. Department 15 Marketing oversees advertising, promotions, production services for the OC Fair, our annual events program, Imaginology, Heroes Hall and Centennial Farm. We oversee the paid advertising component, as Terry mentioned, as well as promotions. Some of the promotions that are noteworthy in my department include We Care Wednesday. It's the day that we offer free admission to our guests to keep the fair affordable for all members of our community. We also oversee special contests, as well as a partnership with the Orange County Transit Authority, which is known as OC Fair Express, where guests can take a bus shuttle from 9 locations throughout Orange County. We also have partnerships with MetroLink, that's a promotion as well. The department oversees the production of the television and the annual radio commercial. Those are new and introduced into the market every year. We are a non-revenue generating department. I call us a service department. We have a staff of 3 full-time employees. The labor costs are $441,811. We grow to a staff of 6 during high season during the summertime. Our non-labor expenses are at $2,052,776. Those costs include paid advertising for the annual OC Fair, our advertising agency of record, Census, as well as an additional agency this year, our branding agency, IMW. Michelle Richards has been sharing updates every month at the board meetings on how that project is progressing. It's housed in the marketing department. 2 other services we provide include the event guest survey, in which we survey the guests during the OC Fair to check on how we're performing as an event. We're very interested in their feedback and fine-tuning as we produce the event for the next year. The marketing department also oversees production and printing. These are materials that we issue out in the market, such as coupons, special discounts, brochures, and outreach materials as we market during the spring and summer season. Can I help answer any questions about Department 15 marketing? Thank you.
To me, I'm Joan. I'm the Director of Exhibits and Education. And there are 14 budgets that fall under an Exhibits and Education, but I am not going to go through 14 individual budgets. They're all wrapped up, and my report will show them consolidated. Although on the worksheets, they are all individual. And I can list the 14 if you'd like, or I can just give you an overview. But there are 3 year-round budgets. Those are administrative budgets. And there are 8 fair-specific budgets. And then there are 2 very unique budgets that the Exhibits and Education Department doesn't solely administer or put together. Several departments participate in creating that budget and then taking funds from that and applying revenue to that. And those 2 budgets are Department 41, which is Imaginology, and Department number 69, which is OCFEC self-produced events. So I'm going to speak to the Exhibits and Education Department, and we design, create, and implement educational and historical exhibits, classes, programs, and events for year-round presentation in the annual OC Fair, as well as Imaginology. Major department responsibilities are fall into 4 categories. One is Centennial Farm, which focuses on agriculture and nutrition education. And the elements that fall under Centennial Farm are our school tours program, and this is the largest year-round program at Centennial Farm. Staff and volunteer docents educate approximately 100,000 students to help them learn where their food and fiber comes from, in addition to the history of Orange County agriculture. The secondary program is our Ranch After School program, and this is a program in which we partner with the City of Costa Mesa, and there are 6 area schools that participate in the Ranch After School program. Moving on, also we have our garden classes that are part of Centennial Farm, and that can range from anything from fruit tree pruning, preserved foods, and even goat yoga. Moving on, Heroes Hall. This is our Veterans Museum and Education Center that everyone is very familiar with. Heroes Hall consists of temporary or traveling exhibits that take place on the ground floor of Heroes Hall. We're on our 5th temporary exhibit to date since we opened in 2017. Upstairs, we have our permanent exhibits, which includes the Santa Ana Army Air Base story. We also have the story room that's upstairs in Heroes Hall. And then outside of Heroes Hall, we have the Medal of Honor courtyard, the Orange County Walk of Honor, which is on the perimeter of the courtyard, and our newest addition, which is the A4M Skyhawk aircraft, which all of you came to this past Saturday when we were dedicating that for the Veterans Day event. Also included under Heroes Hall is the Voices program, which we do in collaboration with Arts Orange County. And that's the Veteran Storytelling Project. That takes place about 2 to 3 times a year. Heroes Hall also hosts tours for school for students and adults. And this is an area that we're further developing so we can present more of those more often. And Heroes Hall also participates with Centennial Farm on specific school tour days. We outreach to the younger set that visits Centennial Farm. We tie into that. Moving on to Imaginology, as you know, this is our second self-produced event, and this is a STEAM event that features programming related to science, technology, engineering, arts, and math for elementary through high school age students. And Exhibits and Education Department specifically oversees school projects and feature exhibits, as well as activities that take place in and around Centennial Farm. Other elements of Imaginology are community entertainment, participation by 4-H and FFA, and our partner groups to include Arts Orange County, which presents the Dia del Niños program, and Vital Link, which is a nonprofit agency that focuses on career path development. As with FAIR, several departments are involved in the planning and presenting of Imaginology, so it's not solely an Exhibits and Education produced event, as I mentioned. Moving to the fair, this is where we have the competitive and feature and theme design and decor. The competitive program consists of the entries, which could be anything from plant to animal entries that are done by individuals in the community that share with us what they do. They bring it to us to put it on display, to have it judged, to fill our buildings, and to share with the public throughout the 23 days of fair. We're very honored that the public brings their items and shares it with us. The exhibitors also are very happy because they get to have their work on display and seen by the public, and they can also compete for ribbons and cash prizes, which are known as premiums. It's a very traditional part of the fair. Competitive exhibits include fine arts, photography, homemade foods, hand arts, those types of things. Feature exhibits include Orange County Connection Program, which I'm sure that most of you have seen, and that's local Orange County nonprofits and government agency that host a booth at the fair to educate the public. Our theme programming element and design and decor includes exhibits as well as beautifications of the entry gates and surrounding areas and throughout the grounds. For example, if you saw last year the commodity lounges that were presented, that's an example of a theme exhibit. The selfie exhibit that we did a couple of years ago is the same thing. I have the next slide. We do have revenue in Exhibits and Education. Projected revenue for 2020 is $700,058 and $489. The three largest categories in Exhibits and Education revenue are entry fees. That's people who pay to participate to enter in the fair. And also junior livestock auction buyer revenue. Those are the 4-H and FFA students that also enter to participate to show their animals and then turn around and sell them at the fair. There's also year-round event admission, and for 2020, this is estimated at $150,000 for our newest self-produced event, the Halloween Boo Ha Ha, which just took place. I have one more item on that one sorry about that. Another bucket, if you will, is donations and grants, and those come to Centennial Farm and the Heroes Hall Veterans Foundation from the respective foundations that support them. So we're also working with donations and grants through Centennial Farm and other groups for grants. And we're looking in the queue right now are 8 opportunities for grants that we are hoping to receive for the 2020 year. I almost said something else. So those are in the queue. We hope to hear back anytime between November and January, maybe February, on whether or not we'll be a recipient of some of these grants. And then upcoming ones that will probably go out in January and December and January, are 3 additional grants. So we're hoping to see some grant income that will be coming in. And then next slide, under expenses. Our labor is projected at $2 million, almost $2.5 million for 2020. Included in this are 12 civil service employees, and then 30 year-round, 119-day employee. And those are individuals that work at the farm to do some of the school tours, also to the staff that supports Heroes Hall. We only have 1 paid full-time staff person at Heroes Hall. The rest are part-time staff. So we have about 30 people that are year-round, 119-day employee, and then about 205 part-time seasonal employees that support Imaginology, Fair, and then the Boo Ha Ha. Non-labor is projected at a little over $2 million. And the top categories for non-labor expenses are the cash premiums. So we have the entry fees that come in, and then we pay out in a cash premium. And then also junior livestock auction seller expense. So winners in various categories will receive a monetary award in some instances. Not every competitive program does that, but many of them do. And then also, for many of you who have participated in our junior livestock auction, they sell their animals through the fair, and they receive the funds through the fair. So it's kind of a banking function. The money comes in, and then it goes out to the students who have sold at the fair. And by the way, the junior livestock auction is always the second Saturday of the fair, and thank you to the board members that participate and support that. Another category in non-labor expense is equipment rental, and those are the large canopy structures in livestock and in Explorium, some canopies and booths, and other heavy equipment that is related to setup. Professional services, that includes things like, for example, plaque cleaning services at Heroes Hall, fabrication and installation of our larger props. And then lastly, props and decor and associated supplies, and those are small props and light construction materials that we do to create all the beauty that happens at the fair and all the exhibits that happen throughout the grounds. And that concludes my presentation, and if you have any questions, I'd be happy to answer them.
Can you name your 14 accounts?
Yes, I can. Department 11 is Heroes Hall. Department 14 is Exhibits and Education, and that's the administrative side of it. 27 is Centennial Farm Administration. Those are the 3 year-round accounts. And then there's Culinary, which is a fair account. Imaginology. 29 is Culinary. 41 is Imaginology. 42 is Centennial Farm, the fair time presentation. 43 is Youth or Explorium, if you want to call it that. And then 44 is Visual Arts. 46 is an Exhibits Fair account. 53 is Home Arts. 62 is Livestock. 69 is is our self-produced events. That's separate from Imaginology, of course. 82 is Junior Livestock Auction, which is a fair account. And 84 is the Theme Design and Decor.
All right, Howard gets to talk about revenue.
Right.
Easy part.
I'm Howard, and I haven't been awake this late since the fair.
I'm gonna be both.
All right. I oversee the year-round events program as well as the commercial and concessions program during the fair. The Event Services Program provides services to our organization's clients or show promoters and partners in accordance with state rules and regs. We manage and develop staff, and we ensure controls applicable to over 150 year-round events that encompass more than 325 event days. Those 325 event days don't include move-in and move-out days. So Doug and I have a joke from years ago that this department is the department that never sleeps.
What department number is it?
This is Department 30. Major department responsibilities include generating rental agreements and billing settlements. As Michelle referred to before about the sales and booking efforts for all new business, all new events, that's done by Tandem. We do the same for existing, returning, long-time clients. And we've got some clients who have been here for over 35 years. So it's a pretty healthy group. We also generate revenue, rolling revenue projections, so we know where we're at on a year-to-date basis and what the year will end up looking like. And that's one of the reasons that we take Department 30, and that's the bucket for all the different revenue lines. We do the event planning and coordination and ongoing client and guest satisfaction emphasis. We're responsible for event booking and the management system, which is the Ungerbox system, or it's an event booking management software package that starts with scheduling and captures all the rental agreement development and notes relative to all the activity and the conversations that occur with our clients pre-event, during the event, and post-events. A lot of people would think that we've coordinated an event and it's only on the days that it occurs, but we really have dialogue going months in advance and weeks after an event and wrap-up meetings. So there's a lot to managing an event. Also responsible for state fire marshal and Orange County Health Department agency compliance. And we have oversight of our master concessionaire, Spectra. Revenues are $8,552,000. Those are zero-based budgeted. They consist of 47 general ledger revenue account lines, and it's based on projected event lineup and sales mix. So it's pretty detailed. Facility rental and admission sales represent just under $2 million, or 23% of our activity. Personnel charges and outside services fees are about $1.9 million, which is about 22%. Equipment rental fees are $561,000, just under 7%. Food and beverage commissions, $1.3 million, about 15.5%. Parking sales, about $2.5 million, which represent 29.
Thank you. Oh, sorry, Howard.
Waiting for this all. That represents 29% of our revenue stream, and all other $335,000, which includes electrical, ATM fees, Wi-Fi, billboard, that's about 4%. Our department,
Just a minute, on the revenue?
yes.
So we get revenue from the sheriff department and the postmaster PD?
Yes,
What's
those
that?
are pass-through charges, and you'll see in my non-labor expenses what those numbers are as an expense to us, which is also a pass-through expense, which is recognized as revenue.
I don't get it, but a pass-through cost?
So when an event, when an event requires sheriffs, for example, the night market is a good example that has a big sheriff's presence. We charge the client for sheriff services, and then, we're
Ding, ding, ding.
Yeah, there you go.
So the sheriffs needed a deployment of X amount of deputies. That comes to about $13,000, $14,000, sometimes more. We're billed for that. We put it on the rental agreement, hopefully for the amount that is going to be upcoming. And then we pass that expense through. Sometimes those, well, all the time, those invoices come to us 6 or 8 weeks later. So sometimes if we've contracted for $14,000 and it comes to $15,000, we do a subsequent settlement to get the extra $1,000.
And it's 100% pass-through, so you get reimbursed for the full amount?
Yes. Our labor costs are $994,000. That includes salaries and wages and payroll fringes. Department consists of 7 civil service employees, including myself, our event supervisor, and 4 event coordinators and 1 event contract administrator who also doubles up at times as a coordinator at times that we need the coverage. We also have 4 year-round 119-day or part-time event employees for reporting coverage and extended events like Winterfest, and next year we'll have Cirque du Soleil, so we need the headcount to be able to service those events. They go for 21 days or 30 days consecutively. And we have 1 part-time seasonal employee at fair time for just that period of time, because we do a number of events, luncheons, catered events, things like that in the Club OC on this end of the property. Our non-labor expenses total $631,000. Largest, 2 of the largest of those are professional services, and then the next one being sheriff's and Costa Mesa Police Department. Of the $156,000 for professional services, the largest expenses in there are fire marshal at $37,000 and emergency medical services at $38,000. Not listed on there, but a major expense is $39,000 for pyrotechnics, which are, again, a pass-through expense for Costa Mesa's 4th of July celebration. The sheriffs and PD represent $190,000. $153,000 of it is the sheriffs, who provide the law enforcement on the interior of the property. And then there's $37,000 for traffic control from Costa Mesa Police Department. And we zero-base build that also specific to each event. So it's not just a number we grab on history, it's a number that's built on specific mix of events. Equipment rental is $67,000. We have bleachers in the action sports arena, which cost upwards of about $30,000. A restroom trailer in the campground is $14,000, and then a few other dollars totaling up to that $67,000. And sales commissions for tandem booked events for the new events represent $182,000 for the year. Any questions on events? Next department is commercial and concessions. We contract with our commercial merchants and concessionaires for space rentals for the fair time partners in accordance with rules and regs, and we generate over 420 rental agreements encompassing over 625 rental spaces. The responsibilities of the department are the OCFEC food and beverage and merchant layout, applications, and rental agreements. Commercial and concessions oversight, partner oversight and support, and contract adherence. And that oversight and support is provided through advisory groups, quality assurance, food safety, and the department, the group of people that come out of Nick's Department for Alcohol Compliance. We also ensure state fire marshal and OC health agency compliance. New idea and fresh look implementation and guest satisfaction emphasis. We do that through presentation, menu development, service standards, equipment upgrades, and some equipment retirements, and we've done quite a few of those over the last 5 to 7 years. And a real emphasis for our department is to grow the food and beverage and merchandise market share so that we can realize additional revenues each year. We do that through new concepts. You recall last summer's food discount program, which was called Raising for Savings, which we will have again in 2020. And we do a number of value proposition initiatives. The revenues that we realize, just under $10 million, again, zero-based budgeted, and they include 18 different revenue account lines. Detail includes merchant space rental, $1.4 million, and that's based upon all of the different spaces, times, if they're an 8x10 space, or a 10x10, or a 10x15, we've got specific rental rates for that fee. Some of our merchants have double spaces, triple spaces, some have single spaces, but we total up all 330 of the actual merchant spaces times the respective dollar amount for the 23-day period, and that's where we get to that $1.4 million. The concessions commission is based upon a 25% commission rate for the concessions, which represented just under $31 million of gross sales last year. Camping fees represent another $130,000, and all other is $176,000, which includes the ATM, the alcohol compliance, which I recall off the top of my head was about $37,000, Wi-Fi, storage, parking, card permits, and application fees. Labor, including salaries and wages and fringes, is $374,000. We have 2 full-time civil service employees, Linda Keesbury, who's sitting out there, she's our commercial and concession supervisor, and we have a event coordinator for the department who is largely responsible for all of the development of the rental agreements. We also have 1 year-round part-time employee to help facilitate administrative and coverage needs. At fair time, we ramp up with 23 part-time seasonal employees that include the quality assurance evaluators, food safety team, ID badging, campground supervision, and courtesy booth personnel. Our non-labor expenses are $191,000, the largest of which is equipment rental, that's $156,000. The biggest dollar amount out of there is over $130,000 for tents for merchants on the outside in the fairgrounds. Included in that $85,000 is pipe and drape for the merchants inside the buildings. It also includes some lighting and trussing, golf carts. There's a shower trailer in the campground that costs $12,000, and the other smaller items that you see on that list. And all other is $35,000, which is some web development, some printing, signage, trophies. A number of you attended the concessionaire awards, so we do things like that, and that totals up to that $35,000. And that's those 2 departments. Any questions?
And the Patience Award of the evening is to Johanna.
I'll try to take as much time as possible. Johanna Svensson, I supervise our creative services department. So we do the creative development and graphic design for the organization. Our major responsibilities, artwork, concepts, and design for all of our self-produced events, namely the fair and Imaginology. We do all of the design for our paid and unpaid digital and print advertising, including any collateral, anything that needs to be designed and printed or posted. We also design and produce all of our on-site signage. I should say most of our on-site signage. There's a handful of things that come out of Jason's department, including didactic information at the farm, some of the Heroes Hall didactics, directional and informational signage. We also coordinate the printing with our large format print contractor. Most of my, well, I'm sorry, I do have revenue.
Yeah.
It's $1,000.
It counts.
So it can sometimes be considerably more than that, but I never know, so $1,000 is safe.
Why don't you just add it to my bucket?
Well, he does get you.
We're gonna take it.
Here it goes. He only has 9 million of net proceeds.
So the revenue is from, we will be requested to design from outside entities that are tangentially related to the fair, and as well as promoters. Most of the promoter stuff does go to him, but not all of it, weirdly. Labor, $527,758 for 4 civil service employees. That's myself, a full-time digital and web designer, a full-time lead graphic designer, and part-time civil service. She kind of does whatever we need to do. Yeah. And then I have 4 to 5 year-round part-time employees. I do not hire any seasonal staff. Non-labor expenses, $43,745. Almost half of that goes to the materials needed for the signage that's requested by all of the departments that we serve. So substrate, media for the printers, ink, knives, rulers, that kind of thing. The second largest portion, which is about a quarter of that 43,000, is professional services, and that we have our large format printers looked at and serviced if necessary about quarterly. And I also have under that a freelance design services, which I haven't used up until this point, but as you've heard from others, getting part-time staff is more and more difficult. So that's in there as a safety in case I can't bring somebody in-house. And then the third item that is up there is for dues, subscriptions, and fees, which is for stock photography. We use a couple of specialized software for project management and project review, creative review, and that's about it.
All right. We are coming down the home stretch, I promise. Jerry's going to take us through the...
No.
He promised only an hour and a half, right, Jerry?
Minutes.
We told him he had, we told him he had 2 minutes.
Get my elbow ready.
Yes, there you go. Okay, Jerry, all yours.
So, capital,
You've got this
Yeah.
big sheet.
so 2019, we were set to complete 65 capital purchasing projects and purchasing. We will have completed 55. Just wanted to give you an update on that. Due to events and timing and the abilities to get the projects done, it's just where we're at. This year, we're projecting to accomplish 61. I'll give you some highlights. We've got some projects that carried over from last year. One being the stormwater infrastructure. We do have the plans approved by the city. We met with them. The plans are approved. We're looking at getting permits. The Fusco is in the process of putting together construction drawings, and then we'll get that up to CCA and be ready for bidding that out. We just couldn't get it all done by December, so we're rolling that over. Another large number is the emergency generator that we have behind the safety and security building. That's super old. We we gave the PO to the contractor to build it in June, and they've promised us to have it by November and December, and now it looks like the end of January. So that had to roll over. big numbers. We're looking to remodel the HR department.
Next
Yeah.
slide.
Oh yeah, next slide. Thank you.
So before Jerry goes on to this, we're gonna focus on FY '20.
Yeah.
2020 only, as we've done for the past 4 years. 21 and 22 is just a snapshot look ahead, and thanks to some help from our audience, we know there's some errors, and we'll get them fixed up.
Yeah, I didn't
But
pull that.
doesn't
cell
matter,
across.
doesn't matter tonight.
I didn't pull that cell across, sorry.
Well, that's what the workshop's for.
That's right.
Perfect. So, if you can see, one of the things, on the fire marshal inspection that we had this year, he had seen a couple of fire sprinklers, in the buildings, had some rust on them. He asked us to replace a couple of the sprinkler heads. As we were up there replacing those sprinkler heads, we assessed all the buildings for any of the rust and corrosions, and it was necessary to look, we just said, let's go ahead and replace them all. Before we just continually get hit by the fire marshal, let's just do it all, because it's gonna need to be done. So you can see we have 5 buildings there of fire sprinklers. This last rain was pretty heavy. We had 2 buildings that sustained some roof penetration with water, so we've got roofing on there. Pacific Amphitheater, we've got 3 pumps down in the well at the bottom of the ramp, and 2 of them are not running efficiently, so we're gonna get those replaced before the rain season hits it too hard, to get the water that accumulates through the amphitheater and out. The Plaza Pacifica South Lawn, that's the landscape, the turf. Right now, with the A4 Skyhawk in, we've got the beautiful artificial turf in, and then we've got the grass. So this is just an extension all the way through the south lawn there, and just to clean that all up and not have that separation. The silting basin, that is a project that we're working on. It's in the equestrian center. We're looking to put in a in-ground desilting basin that would capture, filter, separate, that we can actually come out and pump, and that would give us the opportunity to fill in the hole that's there and hopefully give some more space back. That's the goal. Moving on to equipment, we have to support the IT. We're looking at all grounds Wi-Fi, surveillance system. We've got a battery backup emergency generator that's gonna go in building 10. That's, I believe that's where our email,
One of our fiber hubs is.
one of
over
our
there.
fiber hubs
Keep
is
power.
in there, so when the power goes out, we still have our server, but we can't get email. So, one of the things that, we're gonna have that set up. Moving on to, major projects, and, really nothing huge that jumps out on those. Kind of a consistence of some of the same stuff that we've done in the past years, replacing underground boxes, doing electrical upgrades. The ticket booth HVACs, the ticket booths we have are 17, and they're old, and the air conditioners are surface mount, and they're wearing out, so we're gonna replace those. The infrastructure in those, technology-wise, needs to be upgraded, so that's an upgrade in that as well. The booths themselves are good, just the infrastructure needs to be redone. Any questions?
So this is basically the bare bones amount that needs to be done, right? Because we're still waiting for the review, the site review or engineering
Yeah,
review, whatever it's called. And then,
When we plan this, our expectation is that the work that we perform would not be impacted by the infrastructure review and/or the master site plan.
right,
This is just pretty much repairs strictly that would not be impacted.
right. Basically maintenance CapEx, really.
Maintenance.
So where's the
And
parking
we
lot
had
strap?
projected larger numbers over the years, and we've rolled it down to really try to, once again, can we get it done? Right? It's
Right.
There's a large amount of projects, and until we have all the information gathered, just try to keep the wheels on.
So, you asked about the parking lot striping. So, we have a parking lot maintenance, which is seal and stripe, $100,000 each year. It's real important that we come through and seal the asphalt. I wanna put a sealer on it about every 3-4 years, depending on its usage. Otherwise, the top starts unraveling and the water gets in and penetrates, then you're tearing it out. So, but as you black it all out, then that's when we'll be restriping. So this would be for sealing areas that don't need repaired. But as you can see, we've got exterior parking lot repairs and interior parking lot repairs. So as we move through these parking lots doing the repairs, we will then implement the parking layout that we're looking at.
We're gonna get how many more stalls?
Currently right now, we were looking at more. We met with an engineer yesterday and redesigned the stalls to not be.
They were 45-degree angle, we moved them to a 60 for a little bit better flow.
Which reduced, like, we were thinking we'd get 500, I think we're getting 300. something like that.
Yeah, the total number, I know we still have a little bit of tweaking to do, but it's a gain in every single location that we're doing it in. So all 3 lots have a gain of stalls.
Are all of our parking spots the same size?
Other than the ADA, yes.
Yeah. And a few more cycle spots.
Yeah, we have a couple more cycle spots we put out in front of Harris Hall when we put out the charging stations out there and the 88 parking out there. We had to reduce and gave us parking spots.
We need a compact lot.
Amen.
It's like three.
Parking structure?
No, compact car lot. As long as you're not discriminating, yeah. Maybe sections, so we should
More
look at that.
spaces.
Should look at that.
Did I go through that fast enough?
Yes.
Yes.
Thank you.
Too fast?
My husband's
Are there
car
any
is tiny,
projects
my
on there that jump off that, we don't wanna go over too quick?
Yeah, I just wanted to highlight some of the bigger things. I do have notes for every one of them if you have a question.
Just waiting for the year to put the parking garage on.
So ignore the 6 million, cause that's wrong.
Yeah,
Yeah, it's a summation.
But the first column is correct.
Yeah, the 3.25 is correct.
Are there any specific questions on any CapEx or major project initiatives? Okay, just a couple of summary slides for you. This is an important part of our compliance according to Board of Directors Governance Policy 2.3.5. The CEO will not execute a check or purchase commitment of greater than $50,000 unless such commitment has been authorized by the board via the over 50,000 expenditure budget schedule. That's what you see below you, which is submitted with each annual budget or an approved contract, LOU, or rental agreement, or is payment for utilities, CalCard expenditures, insurance, payroll, or state mandated employee services, okay? So what you see below you, or below that paragraph, are 5 items on the budget that are over 50,000 that do not fall into that category of an approved contract, an LOU or rental agreement, or as payment for utilities, CalCard expenditures, insurance, payroll, or state mandated employee services. And that would include our Board of Equalization sales and use tax, the Department of Forestry and Fire Protection for fire marshal services, our attorney services through the Department of Justice, our California non-resident withholding remittance from the Franchise Tax Board, and fair uniforms. So that's our list of over 50,000 that don't fall into those approved categories, okay? So how does it all roll up? You have a copy of the roll-up, the proposed budget, and Summer, if you'll just go to that last slide. Whoops, one more, there you go. Total Orange County Fair self-produced event revenue is forecasted to come in at about 39.4 million. Total rental revenue, 11.3 million. some non-operating revenue of 45,000 for total revenue of 50,773,927. We expect operating expenses of 46 million, non-operating expenses, those are those major projects, 511,000. Total operating expenses of 46 million, 46.5 million. Net proceeds from our operation forecasted to come in at 4.24 million. But then if you take out our non-operating revenue and expenses such as depreciation, GASB 68 listing, our interest earnings and other non-operating revenue, that's 2.6 million. So our projected net proceeds at the end of the year are 1.6 million, 6.2 million. Now, remember at the beginning of the presentation when I talked about our labor increases of almost 1.9 million. If we didn't have to incur those labor expenses, you can see how that would affect our net proceeds. What's most important, though, is to look ahead one more year, and if we do nothing more than what we're doing right now, and we add another 1.9 million, our budget is gonna look very different. So, again, we're not proposing any gate increases or parking increases for this year, but I think we're gonna have to take a hard look at that, definitely for 2021. Certainly would entertain any recommendations that the committee might make to consider gate increases, but we feel that what we're delivering today is a very sound, conservative, doable budget forecast for 2020, so.
Yeah, that was gonna be my comment. It's pretty tight, especially considering the economy at the moment is good. And going forward, things are gonna be different. I believe we have a pretty long economic expansion. I mean, duration alone isn't a reason to be worried, but at the same time, a lot of indicators have flipped. The yield curve is one of the
Yes.
better indicators out there. And that's kind of screaming right now. Some of the other ones are a little bit more mild, but still, let's say we have 1 or 2 more years of expansion, that's still a problem in the future. But before, I think we get into board questions, I did promise members of the audience that there would be an opportunity to speak. It looks like a lot of people have gone home, and the format's a little different, so I didn't receive any new cards, but I'll just go through the same ones, and whoever's still here can speak if they want to. Renji, pardon, did you say something? Yeah, Reggie Mendicus.
Hi, I'm Reggie Mundicus, and I'm addressing you regarding the budget. And I'd like to say, great job on this budget. There's a lot of explanations as far as the who, what, where, when, why, and how of money is being generated and spent. On the capital projects, I appreciate that we're at the end of the meeting and it's 10:15, everybody's tired, but we need to have some more dialogue on the capital budget so we understand the who, what, where, when, why, and how of the capital projects. In the budget, the sound wall for the Action Sports Arena is always, we're going to do it next year, but we know that the next year budget really never happens. It's like free beer tomorrow in some ways. So we need to find a way to bring the Action Sports Arena sound wall forward to get that done, to protect the neighbors of Mesa Del Mar from the motorcycle races and the monster truck shows. I'm also not seeing any improvements for traffic and transportation to deal with the 5 weeks of endless gridlock that comes from the fair. And then there has to be a dialogue about how we're going to prepare for climate change. As a state agency, there are certain things you have to do to work to prepare for climate change. And one thing that comes to mind is, what kind of projects do you need to deal with extreme heat during a large event like the fair? We also need to discuss how to make improvements to the property for both emergencies, like for instance, it's Saturday night at the fair, and someone hits a power pole, just a dumb car accident, and the power goes out. Well, how can we spend our money to prepare for that emergency, and then also preparing for emergency use of the property, like where we end up being a Red Cross shelter for a week, or we have other emergencies that cause a lot of that drive emergency use of the property. So those are dialogues that we need to have. 10:15 at night is not the best time to try to have them. So I just wanted to put those in, out there as things that, we need to start discussing. And everybody did a really great job in this budget, and thank you very much.
Thank you. And thank you for the reminder, Reggie, because what I didn't cover is at the bottom of that table, what's not in the budget. So I spoke about the SB 84 funds, that's the payback that we don't have enough information for. But also what is not in this budget is this project that we now have an ad hoc committee, storage, parking, and traffic ad hoc committee that it is exploring this number one operational issue and how to resolve it. We have no idea how to
All right, you're cut off.
I know what that feels like. Could I have a few more minutes? I'll only take 30 more seconds. Because that committee has really just begun to work and we don't know what kind of solutions are out there, that is a project that we would bring back to the board if there's additional funding that's needed. So it's not included in the budget, but, heads up, we may need to come back for some additional funds for those resolutions.
Okay. Thank you. Vincent?
I just wanted to make a few comments. First off, I want to thank all of you, members of the staff, members of the board for sitting there, and members of the staff for providing such great information. Thank you very, very much. And I especially want to commend Michelle for coordinating this and putting this all together. Thank you very much. One request I have is that the view graphs were very helpful. I'm assuming those are going to be published, or you're going to put those on the website someplace. I hate to ask a favor of this, but if we could annotate the pages with which budget they go to in this document, it'd be really helpful in terms of trying to figure it. And it'd also be nice, it looks like there's a lot of information in those notes. If we could figure out a way to also publish the notes that, for example, that Michelle pulled up on some of the stuff, I think it would go a long way to avoiding getting a lot of questions from the public. I'd also like to figure out a way so that we can, streamline getting questions answered, because there's going to be many more questions that are going to come up. But I was very, very pleased with what I saw here. I'd like to make a suggestion to the 4 board members that are here, having to do with the capital improvements and the capital expenditures. In past years, approval of a capital expenditure in the budget has been treated as, to use federal budgeting parlance, both an authorization and an allocation. So that they can, once it's approved here, for example, the $250,000 for the South Lawn, that's an authorization to go spend that money and develop a plan and enter a contract and all that stuff. I'd like to suggest for these capital, rather than spending authorizing and allocating $250,000 based on 7-word description, that these be treated as if it were, to use federal budget parlance, an allocation. So it's in the budget, we've got the money for it, or excuse me, an authorization. So you've got the budget for it, it's in there, but actually have them come back for it, and they can start planning. But before the lion's share of the money is spent, they actually come back to the board with a detailed plan and get an allocation of that money. And just do it in 2 steps. That way, also, staff isn't forced to try to put together, 60 detailed descriptions for 60 capital programs over the next year for a budget meeting in November. They can put it here, get an authorization, and then come back later for an allocation. So I'd just like to recommend that as a procedural change, and again say thank you very much.
All right, try to keep this brief. Still trying to digest a lot of the information. It's kind of information. But anyway, probably gonna have some more at the next board meeting. but my first thoughts as of right now are, do we have, in the past, we've had the fare-only P&L kind of breakout. Do we have the capability to still do that,
For 2019 or 2020?
for the budget?
For the budget.
For 2020, a different way of looking at a roll-up? Is there a way to,
Yeah.
rather than
I'm
department?
going to look to Esther because we're going to be presenting the 2019 fair P&L at the board meeting next Thursday. So I believe that there is a template created that we could do the same for the forecast for 2020.
Right, okay. And then miscellaneous revenue, just off the top, just looking at it quickly, it's a pretty large item. Is there a way to break it out just a little more? I think some of it is interest income, some of it's some other things, but just to see a little more detail what miscellaneous is. And then, is there a ability for us to at least do a pro forma or projected balance sheet and cash flow statement? I do think that's relatively important, considering you're looking at the net proceeds and you add back depreciation expense, because that's a non-cash item. We're looking at, maybe $5 million in cash generation, but then we have CapEx, which isn't reflected on this, right? So you'd have to net out call it $3 million, and you're looking at $2 million in cash generation for this year. And then, like you said, the next year, you're gonna see probably negative cash generation, and then we have a master site plan for 5 years. So we do have cash, a large cash amount, but that's gonna burn through relatively quickly over the next 5 years.
Yeah.
As we spend it for capital improvements accordingly. And then you're gonna also see interest income declining over time too, partially because of the rates, and partially because we're gonna be using that cash, so there's gonna be less interest
Right.
income. So you're gonna see a lot of bottom line impacts, because that hits straight to the bottom. So we do need to think about, obviously, people need to get paid, so I have no issues with
Right.
with labor expenses or anything like that. With some of the other things, or maybe ways to generate more revenue, ticketing increases, I don't know. That seems to be relatively inelastic, maybe increasing weekend rates by $1, I don't know. Have you done any of that analysis by any chance?
We have, actually, thank you to Love. She did quite a she and Thane did quite a detailed analysis of various ticketing scenarios. And we're looking at not the number of people that came to the fair, because think about how many people come in on We Care Wednesday, and they don't pay to get into the fair. So we looked at strictly our paid gate. And I can certainly review that with you, or we can bring that back to the
Maybe
board
bring it-
meeting on
bring it-
Thursday.
bring it
Yeah.
back, yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, not tonight. No, maybe-
Yeah.
Because we did, and it was 2 years ago, we did a pretty extensive analysis the last time we debated this.
Yeah, we actually did it last year, and we looked at cash flow projections and, what the impact would be on our net proceeds if we didn't take a gate increase. And we're almost exactly where we predicted we would be in 2020 without that gate increase. So, we could go one more year if the board wanted to, stay where we are now. We also were very conservative in our revenue projections, and mainly that's just because of that economic forecast that we're looking at, and what is the consumer's ability going to be to open up their wallets more than they did last summer, given all the headwinds that we're facing. So, there is the possibility of generating more revenue without a ticket increase. I know this team is absolutely committed to holding expenses to what we're projecting, and coming in, on budget for that. But, it all depends on whether we're happy with a $1.6 million net proceeds. Now, there would be some smaller fairs that would be salivating over, so let's put it in perspective. But we're a very large fair with a huge customer base too, so.
Could we also, instead of just putting the impact on the community, could we explore some of our business partner contracts and see if there's a way we can increase the amount we get from them, like Spectra or a few other vendors that we work with.
Yeah.
Another idea that came to mind when we were looking at Howard's budget is, do we charge an administrative fee for any of the flow-through? So when we, I mean, because that's staff time, you know, for doing that, so that's something to consider. I mean, some nonprofits or agencies will charge a 15% administrative fee, and that's pretty significant, and it's still a savings for them. So, it's something to explore.
Yeah, these are all great ideas. I have one more question. First of all, I just want to say thank you to all of you. You guys did a great job. Thank you for participating. It means so much to us, and hopefully you can help us explain all of this, you know, on Thursday of next week. But we're going on almost 4 hours here, and it's unrealistic to think that we could repeat all of this at next Thursday's board meeting. Newton is already saying, no way. So how do you, how would you like to see us come back for the Thursday board meeting for that particular agenda item? Obviously, we want to give all board members the opportunity to take as deep a dive as they want on this budget, but,
Well, I mean, it's recorded, right?
oh, yes.
Live stream.
Oh, there you go.
You can watch it if they're really interested. We can also, you know, just deliver a Cliff Notes version, you know, a brief summary. I don't think it requires everyone to be there
Yes.
to restate everything that was just said. I think
Yeah.
that would be a pretty long board meeting.
We can use the formats we've
Yeah,
used in
have
the
copies
past. I
Yeah,
mean,
yeah, you know, there's
they're
gonna be,
mostly summary, top-level stuff. All of this is gonna be available. And I would like to see department head people and the department number put on the pages and the notes, so that, that could help streamline how we're looking at all this.
that's a good suggestion.
Yeah.
I mean, I had to write it down
We've been doing
for
it
my
every
notes.
year, this is not new. So whatever we did last year, the year before that, let's pick up that format and go from there. You guys do an excellent job with the
Yeah,
budget.
thank you.
Yeah.
So,
No, good job. Yeah,
I
it's
think
great.
it's important for board members to be able to see how the budget rolls up, you know, the departments. This is a bit unrealistic for a board meeting, but we will explore ways to, you know, give top-level detail. And I think that's a great idea. Maybe the homework between now and Thursday is for board members to, you know, to see, we'll get it up on the website as soon as possible.
Or even if they have copies of all of this, they
Yes.
can review it before they come to the meeting or after the meeting.
And it's all posted on the website now, so they can,
And let's say you have the four of us that, you know, we're understanding this really well right now, and
Yeah.
4 hours into it, so
Yeah.
we'll be able to speak to it. So just make sure we just have all this data. I am concerned about one thing. I see no contingency. Don't we usually carry contingency? And if not, that 1.6 is already at risk.
Contingency, so we, in which category? Because we have contingency in the
I thought we had
capital.
a bottom line number for contingency. Did I made that up?
maybe in the cap, in
We had it in the capital, but no, not in the operating budget ever.
Okay, so where, it's not in here either, right? Did I miss it?
There's $100,000 in contingency. Past years, we've
It's at
carried
the bottom,
150.
under capital budget total, so under 2.18.
Oh, at the bottom. I see it.
But it would be good, one of the members of the public, I think Vince mentioned it, I think it would be beneficial for the full board to have a more robust discussion about the capital improvement projects. Then, not tonight, but I think it would be a good exercise.
Barbara, to maybe round out your question, in our policies and procedures, we have to keep reserve in the bank 25% of our operating costs at all times, so we can't go below that number, so that's how, that has to be maintained.
Is that anywhere in this presentation?
No, it's, I mean, we've got 50
I'd like
million in
to
the
see it
bank and we're not going
presentation,
below
so
it.
I'd like
So
to see that in the presentation. So
That,
we don't
that
forget
policy?
that. Yeah, so we don't forget that.
thank you so much
Yeah,
for
thank
hanging
you.
with us.
Thank you, everybody.
I think this was a very important workshop for all of us. It certainly gave staff an opportunity to show you what they do every day. I think you can feel the pride and the passion in this room for what we do and why we do it. So thank you to everybody for coming, and thank you to the public for hanging in there with us, too.
All right, yeah.
To sleep in tomorrow morning, right?
No, I have actually an early meeting. I told you that, but yeah.
Tomorrow.
But thanks, everyone, and can I adjourn the meeting now?
Thank you, Mr.
Yeah.